All right, I feel up. Happening. So I have been getting emails about the little message that I threw out there a few weeks ago about having surgery and all that. I am going through a bunch of stuff, but none of the real lethal stuff or crazy stuff has started happening. So as long as they have Vicodin and Ativan and Lorazepam and...
You get to choose which medication to take because I like you best on Ativan, personally.
The problem with Ativan is, which I took a little this morning,
is
I'm down to taking one half of a milligram, I guess, or whatever. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm taking a quarter because, same thing with, I just got my medical marijuana card.
Woo! Party.
So I went and got, I'm not smoking. I don't like the way the smoke makes my throat feel, so no more smoking for me. And so I went and got this medical marijuana. And actually, my wife went and got all the stuff. And we got lozenges and we got little chocolate things. Now, a couple of years ago, my wife came home with a brownie, ate the brownie, and had one cocktail. And before the night was over, she'd fallen in the kitchen and was in a pool of blood and literally almost died. I mean, it was terrible. And because she'd eaten like half the brownie. The stuff is so strong from these pharmacies. And we don't have any more pharmacies in Central California because the federal government comes in and says pot is against the law. It's against federal law. And if you rent a space to a pharmacy, we will take your building if we feel like it. I mean, and the main thing is that we had a guy on that had that, I don't know what it was, that huge place in Oakland or in Alameda, and he had the college and everything else. It was called Oak something or other. He was teaching people about marijuana, and he was doing it all on the up and up and everything else. And the feds came in. I think he's going to do 10 years. He's going to do 10 years in prison. And it's really ridiculous. And then just recently, in the last, I would say, 6 months, they have gotten 10,000 pounds of pot from these panga boats that come in from probably Mexico. And they're these like 20-foot open kind of boats with a couple of big outboards on them. And they take them ashore somewhere, and they have a meeting planned with the locals. And the cops have been waiting for them, and they abandoned the boat. But they've got 10,000 pounds of pot, and they're chasing these South American guys up and down the freeway. So the federal government is still just spending billions of dollars on pot. It's really dumb, completely stupid. And the only reason why they're doing it, and I speak directly to my conservative listeners, which I know I have a lot of, is because of the knee-jerk reaction of any of the Fox News people or any of the conservatives, especially in not in the Senate, I don't think, but probably maybe in the Senate too, but certainly in the House of Representatives. They have warned Barack Obama if he tries to pass federal marijuana as legal, they literally, they'll bring him up on impeachment charges, which they're trying to do anyway. It's unbelievable. And we would save billions of dollars. It would stop the need for these panga boats to come in. And all they have to do is really regulate it properly. And, I can get marijuana legally because I'm going to go through some surgery and I'm going to have pain, right? My wife really does have trouble sleeping. Now, is everybody who's getting it have the symptoms that they're telling the doctor that they have? I don't, like, Christina, what do you use pot for? What would your symptom be?
I guess anxiety, right?
It stops your anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Remember when I went to California last year, I accompanied my roommate to a doctor's appointment so that he can obtain his medical marijuana card, and the doctor gave him his symptoms. My roommate was telling him what was wrong with him, and the doctor was like, nope, and checked off something else. He basically tried to give him AIDS, and my roommate was like, no AIDS, no, my mouth hurts.
That's the weird part of it. The weird part is that, it ought to just be legalized, and I don't know how they did it in Washington or whatever, but to say it's medical is kind of bullshit. But it ought to be legalized like alcohol, and you need to be, I guess, 18 or over to buy it. And then you've got the deal where you're going to have to throw teenagers in jail. And every 18-year-old that I know got his card when he could, and then is selling the pot to his pals, right? Now, definitely, once they pass the marijuana laws, if they ever do, there are more stoners running loose than normal. There's no doubt. When Prohibition, which was really kind of silly, you could go... It's hard to believe that for 14 years in the United States, you could not go buy alcohol in a bar. But it caused hundreds of thousands of deaths from gangland killings to people selling, turpentine as booze. But the way you get around it is you go to the drugstore and you would say that you had a sleeping disorder. And the druggist would take a version of Coca-Cola, let's say. He would take some syrup and some sparkling water, and he'd pour some alcohol in it, and he'd sell it over the counter as your sleeping medicine. So you could still get alcohol. And then, of course, there were the speakeasies and all that. Or they'd bring it in from Canada, which is what John F. Kennedy's dad was Joe Kennedy Sr., was the biggest bootlegger in the United States, bringing booze in from Canada. And when Roosevelt knew he was going to eventually, Prohibition was going to be over, I guess, he appointed Joe Kennedy Sr. as the Secretary of, I don't know what, Commerce or something, figuring that if we're going to do this, we might as well have the crook who knows all about it, in the cabinet. And Joe Kennedy Sr., knowing that it was going to be overturned, became a multi-millionaire on booze and owning all sorts of, who's the guy, the famous movie guy and all, not Branson, but Bronfman or whatever.
Bronson?
They're Bronfman or something. But they are movie moguls and everything else. And his great-grandfather made hundreds of millions of dollars selling booze, illegal booze, into the United States. So you're going to have all kind of, drunks, and you're going to have that happen. There's no doubt. And then it settles down. What we can't wait, we never can wait in the United States for anything to settle down. We absolutely hate it. It's the weirdest thing. And it's like, I don't know that everybody smokes pot, but you will have a great increase of people who will be going to stores and buying marijuana. Now, Garrett, do you think that if you make the age 18, that it can be legalized like that? Or do you think that's... I mean, booze is, 21? Booze is some places 18. I mean, sure, kids can get booze, but they should really make sure that, of course, now, marijuana's for the young, you know what I mean? It's a rite of passage, almost more than booze, don't you think? Garrett?
What do you mean a rite of passage?
More kids smoke pot than get a bottle of bourbon,
I don't think that's true.
I don't think so.
It's
really?
way easier to get your hands on liquor.
Yeah, all my friends, the first time they got wasted was alcohol.
Yep.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, there was pot and everything else, but once the 60s hit, the Vietnam era and all that, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I don't know who was smoking it or whatever, and they weren't really arresting anybody. And, Coke was legal in the United States until the 40s, cocaine. So I don't know, but now, so I got this thing, and then the other night I got this little chocolate thing, and I just ate like 2 or 3 little pieces, And Christina, it takes an hour for it to hit you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I forgot it. I'd eaten it. Forgot I ate it. So I ate the 2 little pieces of the little chocolate thing. It looks like a little chocolate. Now it costs $6 for just one little piece of chocolate or for a lozenge. But you're supposed to suck it over a period of days, right? Or chew on it, or whatever. Well, I gave TK, my buddy, one of them. He ate the whole thing. I don't even know how he walked around after that. And he's also the same guy that one night when I wanted to make sure he woke up the next morning for a golf tournament when we were out of town, I gave him 3 Advil PMs. And he wanted Advil for headache. And I gave him 3 Advil PMs, figuring that when he got to the bar or whatever he was going to do, he would get tired and come back to the hotel room and go to bed. 8 o'clock in the morning he came in. So he can live through, anything. So I took a little bit of it. An hour later, I'm really saying weird stuff, and I'm driving with a buddy of mine to the store, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, I forgot about it. I got stoned. There's a delayed reaction to the medical marijuana. But, man, it is strong, strong stuff. Really strong. And I ate like 4 bowls of pasta and a piece of quiche.
You're going to chub up real fast.
Yeah, chocolate and, the whole deal. So, but... yeah, they're just and it's really, so now you go to L.A., and that's where they have the pharmacies now. So between L.A. and San Francisco, there are no pharmacies because everybody got scared of the feds. And, we used to have it like right down on Main Street here. You just go down and there was the pot place. But you can't, and it's weird because if they just feel like arresting you, the feds come in and that's it. You're done. If they decide to go to some pharmacy in L.A., at the place we went, there were 4 pharmacies all together, like a food court, like a pot court. Most of them selling pot, smokable pot. And I wanted the edibles. So not every one of them sells an edible. But I got lollipops. I got pure THC, by the way. I have no idea what that'll do.
Oh, boy, I can't wait to find out.
A buddy of mine had AIDS years ago and sadly passed away. And this was, I think he got the THC legally when the United States government was allowing doctors to prescribe it. So we were going to go to the movies one night. So my friend Bernard's in the back seat, and we're driving down Santa Monica Boulevard, and he's got the THC, and he starts talking about it. He says, this is what allows me to have an appetite, because, he was losing weight and he was dying. So he gives my wife one, he gives me one, and he takes one. We went about 4 blocks, and I'll never forget it. There was a restaurant in the corner called Citrion, like citrus or whatever. I said, man, the food in there is great. We might have even had dinner already. We pulled into that place, forgot about the movie, and ate for like 4 hours on the pure THC. That's what I remember about it. It was magnificent, It was a magnificent and, fabulous. Now, they've named some pot for Peyton Manning. I guess that's in Denver. They put some billboards up. If you can bring that up, you'll see it, Garrett. And Peyton Manning's representatives want to sue the people that have named the pot for Peyton Manning. That's unbelievable. And they have a picture of him up there, and I think it's expensive. I think it's whatever. But they don't want him to use they don't want him to use Peyton Manning's. Actually, he'd be, what?
There is a drawing of him, and it's just called Peyton Manning. It's not even like a clever weed.
Well, that's kind of against the law.
Yeah.
That's kind of against, you can't do that. But it is kind of funny, And but it's a specific type of pot, isn't it? Isn't it don't they have a pot name for him that you can go in and you can?
It's Chem 91 crossed with SFV OG Kush.
Wow.
That all sounds very legitimate.
It sounds unbelievable to me. I don't know what that is. It's a strain of marijuana named for Peyton Manning, and his people are not happy about it. And it's being sold in now that you can't do that. They're so stupid. It's like, it's It's so dumb. Of course they're going to get sued, right? They're going to, It's right there in Denver. You can't do that. You can't have his name up. I think it's funny, but you can't. The Broncos, they call the Broncos. No comment. Good, no comment. Why do they even call people?
Just call.
Why would the reporter even call the Broncos? What are they going to say? Oh, we think it's cute. It's interesting. It's like, as a reporter, somebody would go, all right, call the Broncos, and they're going to hang up on us, but call them anyway. Unless a complete idiot answered the phone, right? A complete zero. No one's going to say anything. You're not allowed to. But
at least
now, if I was...
Remember the whole Manti Te'o thing? Everyone was like, not one person called to check if this girlfriend existed. Like, thousands of reporters interviewed him, and not one did the follow-up call just to check the facts. At least they call.
Well, I think when someone tells a story like that, I think that it's almost, especially such a national figure as this kid was for Notre Dame. I think, who would tell a lie that he's dating a woman who's dying, of cancer? Wasn't that it? She was dying of cancer, and he was dedicating the games to her and all this kind of stuff. What an idiot! He's a Samoan, right?
I believe
they say
so.
That they live in a really close. Christina, I didn't turn the phone thing on, so you have to put up the names again. They're a very closed society, and they don't understand the ways of the world. What? They don't live on islands anymore. They live in Utah, for Christ's sakes. They're so dumb. Mormons went over there and convinced them that a guy found a hat that had answers to, life's questions in it. They're all Mormons, all these Samoans. You know that every Samoan is a cousin? They're all cousins. And when you go way back, Garrett, you find a lot of Samoans that have 8 and 12 fingers on one hand.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. And many Samoan women, when their men get hurt, they can also play defensive tackle.
I knew that.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. That happens. It is funny here in California, they let girls play high school football. And I coached one of the girls in the little league when my son was in junior high, and she went on to be the second string starting tackle, and played a lot of games right up the road. And her dad was the equipment manager and all that stuff. And they always have a kicker. They'll have a kicker that's a girl, and they have a couple of wide receivers. And so, but they never, I guess they could probably play Division III or whatever, No. But the new tackling rules, if they tackle, by the way, over the weekend, they ruined a bunch of guys' knees. These big, giant 300-pound defensive tackles were coming in, and they would chop block them, which they still allow. They let them go low or whatever. And they were destroying these big, giant guys' knees. And so one of the announcers said, they say they have to keep that block in there because otherwise it wouldn't have a running game, right?
Yeah.
Which is not true at all. No one who played football starting, I don't know how long ago, but 30 years ago, was ever taught to hit anybody anywhere below the waist because you can't control them. It will not do anything to the game. Nothing. And these guys that keep leading with their heads, which I saw yesterday, that is the stupidest way to tackle. And it hurts you and it hurts the other guy. But you would think that, look, we're all radio announcers, right? It would be like, Covino and Rich are walking down the hall, and so you and I hit him in the knees, Garrett. Right, they're two guys that are part of the, they're part of the community. Now, what's the difference between that and hitting them with our shoulders waist high and wrapping them up? It's a 10 times better way to tackle. So every little kid now is being taught that. And these thugs that they have playing pro football, It drives me nuts. They are dumb thugs. A couple of games were lost over the weekend because they kept, leading with their heads. And it's because they're friggin' animals. That's why. Animals. And they need to start throwing them out for 2 and 3 games. It's bad football. Did you ever play Little League or anything, Garrett? Any kind of organized football ever?
No.
Nobody on any level was ever taught to hit a guy at his legs because they can jump over you, first of all. Secondly, you can screw their knees up terribly. You were always taught to square off. And by the way, once I get a guy on my shoulder, I can control him. I literally can turn my shoulders one way or another, and you watch the great offensive linemen do it. They get in front of a guy, right, and they block him off, and they're kind of high, and they control him. It's unbelievable to me, and the NFL is wrong about this. You would not notice anything different in football except the tackling would get better. And I've been watching football and coaching it my entire life. And do you think if they make the guys really form tackle, it's going to hurt football, Garrett?
It won't hurt football. It'll just change it. I think for
in what way?
It'll be easy, better for the offense. There'll be
absolutely
more broken tackles, more amazing.
No, you're
catches,
wrong about that.
More...
If you're taught to wrap up, you'll have better tackles. Much better. It's when you fly through the air like a missile. You're only one entity. When your arms are out, you've got 3 things going. You've got your body, your shoulders, and your arms, and you're going to make a tackle. What I never got was a guy is streaking down the sideline, some big giant guy, and a defensive back. They would throw their heads in between their legs. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
I did that one time in my life, and I woke up like 2 days later. Boogie Mindell, Warren Easton High School, intercepts a pass. I'm playing blocking back or something, and he's going down the sidelines after intercepting the pass, and I've got a complete beat on him. He weighed about 250, 5'7", 250. And I flung myself at him, and my head got in between his 2 giant thighs, and it was as if a feather had struck, his ass, okay? And he ran over me and kept going until 10 guys, jumped on him and tackled him. But I'll tell you right now, I guess I'd seen somebody do that on TV or something, What a mistake. What I should have done is tackled him like a punter, where your hands kind of flail. Let's go to Aloysius, who is in California. You say you've been in the pot game since 1997. What exactly is the pot game? What is that, pot game?
Well, it's just the clubs and everything, how it started. Ours was the 3rd club in California to be opened, and we're in Berkeley. The little place in Oakland that you're talking about, they call it Oaksterdam. Because
that guy came on the show a couple of times. I really liked him. And
the guy in the wheelchair?
I don't know if he's in a wheelchair or not, but he's going to jail, isn't he? Isn't he going to jail?
Yeah, I think so, because he was, running a club, and then he opened Oaksterdam University.
Right. Where I wanted to get a graduate degree. I had just applied for a graduate degree, and I had gone online, Garrett, to Antioch University, and I said, it's either Antioch Online or Oaksterdam. I don't know where I'm going to get my after college thing. So now you are in the game right now. So what's going on? Do you have a pot pharmacy now? Are you selling it right now?
You know what? I retired from that back in 2002 because it was just too scary with George W. and the DEA.
Obama's no better.
I had a lot to lose.
Yeah, but Obama's no better. Obama.
No, he promised that he was going to put it at the bottom of the list of enforceable issues.
Yeah.
And, the DEA goes after the landlord, and he says, if you don't kick this pot club out of the building, we're going to seize your building. So he wraps up the owner of the building, and the owner of the building says, hey, you guys got to go or I'm going to lose my building.
It's a 3-hour show, and I'm not sure we have time for you to talk this slowly for the next 2.5 hours. But thank you very much, Aloysius, who's been in the pot game since 1997. You know what, Garrett? We ought to have a channel. We ought to have the marijuana channel, or call it Jane or something like that,
Jam on.
We have a marijuana?
That's not it.
Game on, is it?
Jam on.
By the way, every 3-hour show lasts 6 hours. Well, I just want to say to everyone, thanks for listening. Come on in. That Syria thing is fucked up, man. Syria thing. The gas, man. They're going to cut the gas. They cut my gas off 2 years ago, and it was a bitch to get it turned back on. So, see, we put odor in our gas, so you know that it's being released. So you can smell it. You're like in your room, fuck, I smell like gas. I smell gas. Yeah, I was listening to this guy talk about it. He said, man, they're going to, get this gas that they kill people with. I said, well, just put an odor in it so that people can know it's gas being released, and then they could run away. Use the pot channel. Yeah. Make it a political channel, and everybody's loaded. Wes, who's in Texas. Yes, Wes, go ahead. Wes of Texas. That's kind of a cowboy name. Wes Harton was an old cowboy.
Wes Jarrett.
Wes. What's your name? Wes what?
Jarrett.
Wes Jarrett is your name? Oh, my God. You sound like a cowboy, like one of those little paperback things that you see in your grandfather's drawer, Wes Jarrett,
Yeah.
Wes Jarrett. But it's a whole series, Garrett. Wes Jarrett, Bronco Bucker, or something like Bronco something. Yes, go ahead, Wes.
It's Jarrett, like your co-host.
Oh, Wes Garrett. That's even better.
Like his co-host.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, like the co-host. Yeah, that's right. You're the co-host now. That's the only title you can get around here, pal. You know
what?
Once
again,
co-host,
it's just given to you by the show, not actually by the company.
It's given to you by the callers. Yeah, they had named me president recently. I've been president of the company. Some guy called up from Cleveland, said I was president. Yes, Wes, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Talking about taking people out at the knees, it's just unsportsmanlike. I mean, when, what was that chick's name? Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, some shit like that? I mean, the names people called her for taking people out of the knees, and now it's a fucking common practice. What's up with that?
I think it's entirely different when you hit somebody with a hammer behind the knees to keep them from. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think you just wanted to get in the radio, Wes. Thank you. Get rid of him, please. Get rid of him. Not the same as when Tanya Harding got her boyfriend to hit Nancy. What I loved about Nancy Kerrigan was she was the most unsympathetic victim you have, not since Nicole Brown Simpson did you have a more unsympathetic victim. She gets hit in the knees and she begins to fall on the ground going, why me? Why me? And I'm thinking, because you are Nancy Kerrigan, that's why you get your knees broken. You idiot. Why? You would say, why me, if you get like a heart attack or a disease or you get shot by accident. You go, oh, my God, I wasn't doing anything. Why me? But if you're the champion and you're crushing this trailer park trash.
I was just going to say, and then some trailer trash Comes up
Yeah.
behind you.
Why
you
me?
Get your knees batted out with a.
Yeah, you got in the way of the trailer park trash.
They don't fight. They don't fight clean. They fight dirty.
When I was doing Mr. Holland's Opus, we had a night out, and we all go to this bowling alley in Portland. And who's the woman that hit Nancy
Tanya
Kerrigan
Harding.
or her? Tanya Harding was at the bowling alley. You would have gone crazy back then, Christina.
Did she
Crazy.
look like she looks now, or was she still?
No, she was
How we
still
remember
like, she was, trailer park, screwable trash looking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Now it's not screwable at all.
So she was sitting on her boyfriend's lap, and there's bowling going on around her, and we get in there, and Richard Dreyfuss, who was well known at the time, comes in, and I was known, and we take up about 4 or 5 lanes next to him. And the next thing we all start talking with Tanya Harding. And she was just this fabulous bowling alley whore. She was the best. She had a cigarette. She had a can of beer. She had the tight jeans on. She's sitting with the boyfriend on his lap. Oh, she was the best. I gained new respect for her. I have no idea what kind of bowler she was, But boy, as a bowling alley whore, she was the best. Nowadays, bowling alley bars, they have country music, they have entertainment and stuff. But there was a time when you would go into these bowling alley bars, and there would be these women that hung around them. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like an episode of Roseanne. That's how
close. That's exactly right. Of all the bars to go to, Christina, who picks the bowling alley bar to go to hang out?
Somebody that's looking for a good old time, that's for sure.
Yeah. Donnie of York, Pennsylvania. Yes, Donnie, go ahead.
Yeah, Jay. I played football from the time I was 8 till I was 18, and this has been the 60s. You never heard of a body block?
Right, they don't do that anymore. They don't do that.
No, that's what I'm saying, but you say they never taught you that. Well, sure they taught you. If you're hitting
no, they taught a body block, but the block I'm talking about, that's not very effective, the body block, because...
It absolutely is. I've played guard all my life, left guard. If you're going in the linebacker...
You know what a body block is, Garrett? Do you know what it is, a body block? It's not that they've outlawed it, but they just don't find it effective. Garrett, you know what a body block is?
No.
Garrett, I need you to do something. I need you to get on the floor on your hands and knees. Just get on the floor. Christina, go around. Are you next to him?
I'm across from him, but I can get next to him.
Okay, you get next to him. This is going to be good, right? Right, Donnie?
Yeah.
Good. So watch this. So, Garrett, all you do is you get your body on all fours in front of Christina. You don't even hit her. You just turn your body, and the only way she can get by you is to jump over you. It's called a body
Eagles
block.
do this.
They do?
Chip Kelly and the Eagles, they have plays where all 5 offensive linemen just drop down and cut the defensive line, and then they throw it.
Well, that's a cut block, but in a body block, you don't hit the guy. You just turn your, it's a big body you're turning, right? So you would just, from your stance, right? Am I right, Donnie? From your stance, you would just whip around, and it's stupid, Garrett, because the running back goes by and the guy's arms are flailing over your back trying to catch him. And then if you kind of crab him, kind of move in a crab way, it's the stupidest looking block, but I guess it's too hard to do or whatever.
Why did I have to demonstrate this? It's not even
just so you could. Just so
that I can make a Vine video and post it all over the internet. Thank you.
No, but Christina, could you see how hard it would be to get by him? You'd have to jump over him, right, or something. I mean, he's like 3 feet tall right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like a garden fence went up in front of you.
No, I think I can take him.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go to Steve, who's in New Hampshire. Yes, Steve, the Jay Thomas Show. How are you?
Hey, Jay, doing well, thanks. I just wanted to add on to your comment earlier about having a cannabis channel. I don't know if you've seen on, I think it's Comedy Central. They have a show called Drunk History. Have you seen that?
Yeah, we had the guy on. Oh. I've watched it. I don't get it.
You don't get it? Okay. All right. Yeah,
I don't get it. I mean, Christina, do you still watch Drunk History?
No. I don't learn nothing. You know.
But you know what? It isn't about learning anything. I don't get the bit. It's like when no. I think they're drunk, but I don't get. Garrett, do you watch it? Drunk History?
Never, but everyone I know loves it. But I've never
it's like when they used to get drunk on the morning shows to show you not to drink and drive, right? So they'd get a host, and the host would take a shot of bourbon, and then the highway patrol, Officer Bill would be there, and he'd give him a breathalyzer test. And he would say, okay, you're still legal to drive. Then they talk a little more. Then they take another shot of booze. And before the show was over, the host was going, I never found any of that, I don't get it. But to me, Drunk History would be much better if they told all the things about the people in history who were drunk and who did things. There are hundreds of those stories. But it's his drunken friends and comics you've never heard of, desperate entertainment types, getting drunk and vomiting. Have you seen him vomit, Steve?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was pretty bad, and I was eating too at the time. But
I have to tell you something. I find Honey Boo Boo to be more entertaining than Drunk History.
You.
Yeah. By the way, I saw her over the weekend. I saw the mother over the weekend, and she was being interviewed. There's some show that's like Inside Edition, and it's got this really handsome black guy that's the star of it, and this kind of good-looking brunette woman, and they really take themselves seriously, and it's not Inside Edition. It's no show I've ever seen before. And they'll have Brad Pitt on and all this, and he was sitting with the mother. What's her name? Mama June?
Mama June.
Whatever her name is? Mm-hmm. Mama June. And so, thank you, Steve. And so, she was funny. I mean, I appreciated how she was afraid to belch real loud or whatever, and the whole deal. Now, as I watched it, I said, yes, I get it. But that's one interview for like 5 or 6 minutes or whatever. I mean, lots of people are funny for like 5 or 6 minutes. It's just this idea that a family wakes up, or any human beings wake up, and they immediately begin acting out.
No, everybody
doesn't happen.
Television show.
I understand that. But everything happens with a regularity that is impossible in real life. I mean, if I woke up every morning and my wife and I begin dealing with each other, and then the kids come in, and that's not the way the world works. The houses are pretty quiet.
You don't deal with your wife on a regular basis?
No.
But that's ridiculous.
No, not like a TV show. They would have to shoot for 6 hours to get 5 minutes.
So you've got this mother who doesn't have a job, who's not going to work every day, and she has 4 daughters that are not in school. What do you think is going to happen? To be honest, in reality, the mother probably doesn't do anything with them. Nothing. Yeah, but
the people that really live in that situation...
Hunk of shit sitting on the couch.
She doesn't do anything. She gets up, and the kids can start bitching or whatever, and she says, go get your own damn cereal. Like, that's what they do.
Right, and then they go and they eat it, and we watch them do that in awe.
It's unbelievable to me. Somebody wrote me an email that said, I guess Christina's never seen real rednecks before or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like going to the zoo. I lived in Brooklyn my whole life, and then, I lived in Pennsylvania where there was kind of redneck.
They could get
anybody. Like that.
They would have you wake up, and you would deal with your black male roommate every day, which you do not do.
Mm-hmm. No, I do.
You do?
If I see him,
How
I
much?
talk to him.
5 minutes?
I mean, as much as I have
2 seconds?
If we were being filmed,
in the
probably
show,
a little longer than 5 minutes.
In the show, you'd fight over the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or the dishes.
In the show, he didn't make the coffee right.
We went to Detroit.
Whatever, yeah. You'd fight. Every episode did have a thing where you wake up and there's a... Garrett, do you wake up in the morning and you and the girlfriend are just conversing and it's just a...
No, I sleep. Wake up when she's
gone. Yeah. You wake up when she comes up.
But if you had a show, you wouldn't do that.
Now, wait a minute, Garrett. This is how I'd like Christina to talk. Sociologists have said what, Garrett?
There are theories claiming why women like reality TV so much.
What is it?
And it's because before electronics or, not civilization, but advanced civilization, everyone would gather around, once a week or whatever, and everyone knew everyone in the neighborhood, and we would gossip, or did you hear about this person, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And now everyone's just in their house behind their computer, and there's no social interaction. So these reality shows are letting women hear gossip, see gossip about other people, and and it fulfills like some sort of innate need inside them.
That sounds like a piece of information that I would have sought out, and I've never been so proud of you in my life. Now, Christina, that's all I'm saying. If you said, hey, Jay, besides the fact that I watch reality shows, I wondered why I watch them and why millions of women watch them, and I looked it up. That's what drives me nuts about you, because that stops your advancement as a broadcaster. You can't just enjoy.
I need to research the reasons as to why I like the show before I can watch it.
No. As a broadcaster, you can't just report all the time what you see. You've got to, at some point,
Garrett is
have
cracking up in the corner of the room right now. He thinks you're ridiculous.
Some ammunition.
I just want to put it out there.
So what?
I'm just laughing at you getting berated.
No, but it's true. It's like you refuse to go to advance, to move I love all kind of trashy TV, which is great, and I like to find out why I like it, why people like it, and other stuff. You're an observer of other people's fame, and you refuse to do anything to move yourself beyond it and know anything about the world other than the little box you watch.
Really?
And that's if you got a job,
how could you possibly say that with
if you got a job at CNN and every day you came in and talked about reality shows,
right,
they would fire you eventually.
I worked on the Alex Bennett program, and for 3 years, read a newspaper, had my own news segment, did research, did all of the things that I needed. Yes, I did.
Get the hell out of here. You were there because Alex Bennett would go home and masturbate to you. Are you kidding?
So ridiculous. For 3 years, it's something I never knew anything about, politics.
I think Alex Bennett masturbated to Garrett.
For a 3-hour program,
now,
5
that's
days
alleged.
So don't
I know
go
nothing
there
about it,
and talk
and I have
about how
no
I don't know how
facts.
to do research.
It was a 5-page newspaper that was free on the subway.
I read regular newspapers, too. My news segment was the big joke, but I read regular newspapers and online. You
it's
shut
not
your mouth,
about
too,
doing
before
news.
I throw a can of Coca-Cola at your head.
Here's what's funny about you.
What?
When you are asked to advance, you take it as if somebody is telling a little kid to study for a test. And that's your downfall.
Asked to advance. I was never asked to do anything. I was asked to pick up his phone and say, Alex Bennett program, what's your name and where you're calling from. I took it upon myself to take an interest. Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, you stopped as soon as you got to this show.
Right, because now I get to talk about things like Honey Boo Boo and listen to the two of you talk about football for 3 hours.
No, we didn't talk about football. We're talking about something that is a huge thing in all of the newspapers about how these guys are getting beat up and everything else and injured and everything else. And it's like, I mean, does it seem, you could add something. Does it seem silly to you?
It's not something.
Do you think they ought to just allow them to hit each other? Should they just crush each other?
Sign up for, right?
So you sign up to be injured and
you sign up to hit each other.
Good. There you go.
And get paid boatloads of money for it.
There you go. So, okay, that's at least an opinion. Instead of sitting there and going, okay, you guys are talking about it for 3 hours. That's all. Look.
Listen, the last time I asked a question about
people get
advance in the sport conversation that you had,
I not about
dreamed for 3 days about tell Christina to shut up. The men are talking.
Who said that?
Listeners, you're not on the internet. You don't know what kind of things people are saying.
Hey, by the way, a little girl committed suicide because she was being bullied. And I'm reading this article, and they're talking to the school, and they started homeschooling her, and she took away a boyfriend of some girl at the school. It might even be in Tennessee. I don't know where it is. And they're laying out that the little girl definitely had some issues. She kept going on social media after she was being homeschooled to get her out of the school where she was being fist fighting and being bullied. And she goes online and she Facebooks with a guy and says, I'm going to go over to a concrete place tonight and I'm going to jump off the wall. I'm going to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid doesn't tell anybody. The kid she's on Facebook with. And she goes that night and she jumps off and she kills herself. I'm reading this article and I'm thinking, the first thing you would do as a parent is social media is over. It's over. Why would you let your daughter, who's being cyberbullied, and at school also, so you take her out of the school, and the mother says, I didn't know she was still on the internet.
Because the parents don't understand, a lot of times parents don't understand how easy it is for these kids to get on the internet. You can't take the internet away from your 12-year-old. You just can't.
Well, people were saying to her, I want you to die, you need to die, and all this stuff.
Right, and there was a lot of interventions that she had with family and friends, I think, right?
You know what? She sounded a little nutty, okay? She sounded a little nutty. And I'm sorry that she committed...
Well, at 12 years old, you know, you're getting your period, all these horrible things are happening, and being a kid is not easy, and so, of course...
So you have to take it away, and you have to sit with her and go, because it's no good for you. It's like taking poison every day.
But you know that it's happening, and as it's happening, you aren't seeing it. That'll make you even more crazy. It's almost like, what's worse, to keep watching it as it happens or to ignore it completely but still know it's happening? And that manifests inside of you, and then you jump off a bridge.
If he was cyberbullied, I would have, you know, he can't have a Facebook account. I don't know what I would have done, but it's like, so the little girl kept going online and to read the threats that people were proffering against her. It's unbelievable. It's unreal. I mean, I don't know how you would stop it. I haven't the faintest idea. But it's like, Jay, quit taking that knife and stabbing yourself in the foot. You know? Okay. All right, I'll try. You know, whatever. Even if I had to have her... Now, the problem is, if they'd moved to another town, she'd have gotten on the internet, Garrett, and still gone back on the social media from the other town so they could shit on her. You know? Listen, when you got a crazy kid, which I've had a couple, it's weird when you have a crazy kid. It's really, really strange because you don't know what to do. You have no idea. It's like having a dog that bites, Garrett.
Put it under.
Love him? Huh? What's that? Put him down?
Put him down, yeah.
Put him down. Don't let your dog have social media either. In a little while, Joe LaRosa will be here.
Who?
Comedian Joe LaRosa. Christina always sends me stuff. He's been here before. He was really funny. You really liked him. Never heard of the guy in my life.
Never remember anything.
Never heard of the guy.
I've never heard of this guy. You talked to him for an hour and a half.
I never heard of him. Never heard of him.
Remember, he's Egyptian and Italian, but adopted.
And he has that tattoo.
No.
On his arm.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. The tattoo said KKK on it?
Well, not
close,
really,
yeah.
but close, yeah.
So here's my next question. Since it sounds like we had a pretty good interview with him, what could we possibly find out about him?
He has a new album coming out, and he has show dates coming out.
And he found out he's not Egyptian or Italian.
Come on.
Well, there you go. Okay.
There you go.
See?
Now, I don't know who this guy is either, but he's supposedly the world's most quoted man.
Oh, I know this guy.
Greg Packer. Now, how did he become the world's most quoted man? What does that mean?
The only reason I know him is because he camps out in front of the Apple store.
There you go.
And he's on social media? Is that it? He's quoted
first online guy.
He's first online.
He's
everywhere.
Always there for like the first online thing. So when
does he buy it? Does he buy it?
I'm not really sure if he does. I think he's just there for the publicity and the attention of being first.
So, like when the new i5 something or other comes out, he's the first online.
He'll be there.
Yeah, he was at the Mac store today while I was emailing with him. He was online at the Mac store because I think a new iPhone came out. 2 new iPhones came out. You
got to tell him, Garrett, if he stands in front of Sirius XM, we're the first ones to sell like a gas bomb, a gas bomb. I mean, he'd stand in line for anything. That's first. You know. Does he go in and buy the thing for $500 or $600?
I doubt it.
Does he make money doing it? Does he make...
I think he's retired. He's a retired highway maintenance worker.
So he's a guy with a flag.
Well, he was the first in line to see Ground
Flag
Zero.
guy.
It's not just products and stuff like that. It's just...
Slow it down!
things.
Slow it down! All right, go on.
He's first in line for just things, for events, for what's happening. It's not necessarily products.
Lady Di died. He was there for some book.
Yeah.
The British made
But he doesn't buy the book.
That I do not know. That
he wanted to
and
be
then
the first one in line to greet the President Bush after his inauguration.
How does he get to be first in line? We'll ask him all these questions.
Really
That's
early,
a pretty good.
guess.
That's a good guess. Let's go to Jason, who's in Portland, Oregon. Yes, Jason, go ahead.
Hey, I got a little bit of problem and a little bit of agreement with Christina on the.
Why don't you just come right out and call me an idiot like you did on the phone with me 5 seconds ago?
No, here's the thing. You're right. A lot of parents don't understand how social media works. They don't understand the Google search. They don't understand how to block internet pages. They don't get it. But if your daughter had been bullied and the parents cared about their daughter, don't you think they'd spend $100 to have somebody come in and block all those things from the internet?
But you're not just going to get internet access from inside of your home.
Here's what's so weird. The little girl kept going on social media until she killed herself. It's like me on the break. I go in the office and I take a little strychnine, right? And I get sick, and I come back in and I do another hour of the show or whatever, and I take a little more strychnine.
When are you gonna take
it's insanity. They needed to put the kid away. How about that one? They needed to
block internet access from all the websites. It takes
the kid away.
Minutes.
You know, you don't have any kids, do you, Jason?
I do. I have two. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Well, guess what?
You're not there
You
yet,
won't be able to do anything with them.
Nope.
You won't be able to do anything. You know what? Have 2 more in case one of them doesn't make it through the maze, Gary. Always have more than 2 kids, because one may not.
How many people in this room have suffered identity theft? 1. 1. Yet there's an add-on every 10 minutes for identity theft. It's always somebody crying, like, I feel so violated. They stole my identity. My life fell to pieces. Look, I know what happens to you sucks, but it's not identity theft, okay? When you get beaten to death by an oar in a rowboat by the talented Mr. Ripley, then it's identity theft. When some guy's posing as you in the south of France and brokering illegitimate business deal, that's identity theft. Okay? Some fat kid stole your credit card number and downloaded porn with it. It's not the crime of the fucking century. I suffered identity theft. I'm not being callous here. I suffered identity theft. They got my credit card number. They made 2 purchases. Macy's, $40. Cozy, $10. It was the most responsible thief that has ever lived, ever. Dude, I got the shit! I got the shit! I need a sweater, first of all. I gotta get a sweater. And then maybe a Caesar salad? I don't know.
The great Joe DeRosa, his second appearance on the Jay Thomas Show. I know many of you listen to him over there on Opie and the former Roofer Show. I love that one of the guys was a roofer. You know, I go to college, I get a degree, I, work in theater, I do stand-up comedy, I write, I do everything, and you get in the radio and you go, hey, how'd you get in the radio? Oh, I was a roofer. Oh, I got it. Yeah, I was a roofer. I was fixing roofs, got in the radio. Oh, I got it. I got you. Great. Joe DeRosa, welcome back to the show. Your new album is You Will Die, a 2-disc set consisting of the real album, which is professionally mixed, edited, and produced, and then the other one is unedited and it's unprofessional. Is that the other one? Is that the How is it working?
Well, the other one is also professionally recorded and mixed. It was just the show went wrong because everybody in the audience was drunk and unruly. So when we were trying to record the good show, we got a really bad show on tape. And I thought, man, were we lucky to capture how bad comedy can go wrong sometimes, you know. So I thought it'd be a fun.
So you've got one perfect show where everyone's laughing in the right place and you're killing them, and then you have one of the same material and are basically the same material and it doesn't go well.
I don't even get to any material on the second disc. That's how crazy it is. They're just so drunk and nuts. And I actually, no lie, wanted to put the second disc out as the album. I just said we should just put this out. And the label was like, well, I don't know if it's the album. It's an album possibly, but
yeah, it's a B. You know what's funny? They used to have this on albums. You're calling it an album, but it's a DVD. It's a B-side.
Right.
And I love that term, the B-side, because you would hear a record, like especially a 45 or whatever, and you go, gee, I wonder what's on the B-side. You'd turn it over, and there'd be some piece of shit that they threw on there. Now, years and years ago, when I worked at CBS, they came to me and they said, would you host New Year's Eve on CBS? And, it was huge. From the Hard Rock in New York City, and we have... not the Rolling Stones, Garrett. We had Keith Richards was performing in Times Square, and he was the musical guest. Judy Tenuta was going to be on my show and we had a grunge band that's still big from Portland. God, I forget the guy's name, but anyway, big. Eddie? No. It's a single guy's name. He's still around. So they do it at the Hard Rock. So I write all this material. We're going to go live at like 11. Sure. And so I get to the Hard Rock, and they're letting these animals who have won contests in every radio station or whatever, they're letting them drink. Them drink. So I turn to the producer. I go, man, I don't think this is a good idea, And they gave them these 6-inch by 6-inch pieces of confetti. They were huge, but they were made of like mylar, shiny mylar. Right. And if you threw it right, it could stick you, it could stab you. So the drunks begin to hum the mylar, and the band guy says to me, he's in the band, he goes, man, this is a bad crowd, and we haven't gone on the air yet. When we went on the air, they were throwing so much shit at me. These are the first words live, national TV. I said, you throw one more thing, and I'm coming down there. That's how the show opened. And the producer is screaming in the headsets, go to music. And they cut to, not to Times Square. Yeah. You know what? It's the drunk thing that you can't. I mean, I know sometimes you want them to be drunk, but
incredible.
Would you have now the other show that's edited and perfect? Was everyone drunk at that show too?
I mean, people were drinking, but I mean, it really is an interesting, capturing of comedy, because both shows are one show front to back. The only editing done on the first show was just for time's sake. We had to cut a little of the stuff off in the beginning so everything could fit. But like, it's still one show front to back, and then the second disc is one show front to back, and it's just so funny to see the difference in temperature and attitude and behavior of the audience. It's just weird. I've never understood the phenomenon of crowd mentality, because it's not like when you get a group of like that New Year's Eve thing you were talking about. It's not like when you get a group of unruly drunks. Everybody that walked into that room that night was like, hey, I'm a guy that acts like a complete jackass every time I drink. That's mathematically impossible. It's just something.
They say there's a mass psychological hysteria to groups. And that night, there were lots of guys in New York City who had been flown from all over the country, and they were wearing wife-beater T-shirts, right? Mm-hmm. And I one of my jokes was, I go, it's fucking New Year's Eve. What do you dress like that for? Right. I didn't say fuck. And the people at CBS, as soon as I said that, go to music. And now Judy Tenuta comes up, who isn't funny anyway, and has never been funny.
And did she have her security in or whatever?
the security guards had to hold their arms together to keep the crowd from storming the stage to beat her. They hated her so much.
Because her whole thing was she would get up and call everybody pigs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so she.
And guess what? She was correct. She was absolutely correct. And she was being kind of bitchy anyway. It was kind of like, I guess her period hit, January 31st, okay? Or December 31st or whatever. So I introduce her, and I walk off the stage and realize within a matter of minutes I'm going to be back, standing there. Yeah. And they were all over her. And she brings out the accordion. I have never heard a group of individuals hate a musical instrument so much in my life. They had a hatred for the accordion. Hatred.
Yeah. It's like, what were they thinking at CBS booking her? Like that, she had like a really like sort of downtown, there was a whole irony to her act. You know what I mean? Like, and it was.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Somebody think a bunch of raging drunks would want to listen to that? It's like
the only better person they could have booked would have been Emo Phillips. Would have been another good.
Yeah, exactly. Weren't they married?
Now me, I'm like a barroom brawler MC. I'll fucking fight you. I'll put you down, and I don't expect you to laugh anyway, so I don't give a shit. But I actually got out some good material, and somewhere I have a video of it. But when I looked up my family, and I don't know if you know Charlie Steiner, the sports announcer guy. He's a buddy of mine, and he was looking down from the balcony. And he was just shaking his head back and forth, and it was awful. Now, you work with Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle just recently walked off stage in Hartford.
Yeah, I heard.
And he could not control the audience. What do you think of something like that? He's a huge star, and he blamed it on white suburban kids. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
He did not blame it on African Americans.
I didn't know that. I mean, I think the...
And by the way, racially fucking motivated as far as I'm concerned. Huh?
The statement was
Say it, Joe. Racially motivated.
Motivated racially. I think it goes both ways. You can put those words in any order and it works.
How does a big star like that lose control? How does a big star like Dave Chappelle lose control?
I don't know, look, I toured with him for a few weeks years ago, and I saw, I don't even know what you would call it. It was like mayhem, like the way people would act in reaction to him, the way people would act around him. People would chase him down the street and run up to him in the middle of the street and literally shove their cell phone 2 inches from his mouth and be like, my friend's on the phone, say something funny. Dude, it was one of the most...
Would these be white suburban kids?
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but yeah.
White suburban kids.
Yeah, absolutely every single one of them was. And I'm not being funny. They really were. It was always white skateboardery type kids. And, but it was just so intrusive. And I was just, one day we got onto an elevator. A group of 30 people followed him into the lobby of the hotel and were doing that thing with their phones and screaming. The hotel staff had to come out and almost physically shove the people back. And we got on the elevator and the doors closed, and it was as soon as the door shut, it was all of a sudden the chaos was magically cut off. And I just turned to him and I go, dude, I don't know how you didn't punch that guy in the face. And he just shrugged his shoulders. He's like, what are you gonna do, man? It's what it is. So
it is amazing. It's like I think he's one of the funniest guys in the world, but he mentioned on stage the other night in Hartford. Garrett, is there any audio of that, of him on stage in Hartford?
There is, but it's very far away cell phone video. You can't hear it. Yeah.
He actually screams out to them, and for this, I didn't take $50 million from Comedy Central.
Right.
He actually mentioned it. Now, did you ever ask him about that? Joe, here you are. You'd love to have the career he's got. You'd love people shoving their cell phone in your face and all that other stuff. He turns down $50 million and goes back to his farm or something in Ohio or some crap.
Well, he lives on a farm. No, I never asked him about it. I mean, look, he talked about it enough on stage that I realized it was obviously like a sensitive subject. You know, you don't do an hour interview with Oprah about something unless it's a sensitive subject, right? But like,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, yeah. So, but I mean, look, I always said he was very nice to me, and every time I've seen him since then, he's treated me like a friend. And like, I always said, like, it just the way I took it was like, this guy was like way more normal of a guy than he ever got credit for, and he got thrust into this ridiculous, like, frenzied superstardom, and it freaked him out. And I was always like, you know what? Quitting that show might have been the best thing he ever did. It turned him into like this mysterious, iconic. It made him like Sly and the Family Stone. You know how like that Sly guy like turns up once every 10 years. And
I think he's dead now. I think Sly's no longer with us, but that's all right.
No, he didn't die, did he? Did he die?
I think he's dead. Yeah, I think he's dead.
I'm gonna look that up.
I think when you have coke throat like that, you eventually die. It's a family thing. I mean, the last album he did, I thought Peru was going to come. The Peruvian army was going to march out of his mouth. It's a family thing.
I'm looking this up. He is still alive.
Oh, he is?
70.
Christina, book Sly of Sly and the Family Stone. Go to JoeDeRosaComedy.com. Joe DeRosa, the last time you were here, and his new album is You Will Die, and the other album that's in there is he? Would you say you died on stage, or the crowd? Is it like one of them's really good, and then the other album is of you dying? Is that what?
Well, that's part of the play on words of the title or whatever. But yeah, right. I mean, it's the second CD is. I think everybody wins and everybody loses. It's not like I get the best of the crowd for 60 minutes, and it's not like they get the best of me for 60 minutes. It's like I get a shot in, then I trip up, and then they do something annoying, and then somebody gets a good line out, and then it's just you got to just hear it. Jay, dare I say it? You're going to have to listen to it.
Well, you're going to have to send it. Hold on a second. You're going to have to send it to me because plugging all this shit for you.
And then you're going to have to press play.
I'm not going on fucking Amazon or whatever the fucking buying it, you prick.
I thought you had a copy. I was just kidding.
Yeah, right. Sure.
I was just making a joke.
Now, the last time you were here, you're a mixed race person. You're Egyptian and Italian American, and you had a tattoo on you that looked like KKK, and you had to like deal with the tattoo, and you made it look like something else. And then Christina was saying to me, or Garrett was saying, that you found out you weren't an Egyptian or something. You were lacking one of your ethnic. What's the deal? What happened?
I did one of those Ancestry.com tests, those DNA tests you can do by mail.
And you found out you were like a bastard by some unknown person?
Well, I already knew I was a bastard, but I came along with adopted. But no, I thought.
Oh, that's right. You were. I'm sorry. I called you a bastard and you're adopted. Let me apologize.
That's okay. That's often the flow of what you said 2 minutes ago when you called me a fucking prick.
It's going so well.
I'm sorry. I called you a fucking prick and a bastard. Let me apologize. I wonder why I don't get my own late night talk show. I just don't get it.
I felt like
so, Jay, you're going to have young upcoming comics on the show, and then what? You're going to shit on them for 45 minutes? No. Al Jazeera is considering booking me. Al Jazeera wants to have me on a late night show.
Sure. Listen, I support you wherever you go. I want you to know that.
So you found the people that gave you away online? You were able to find them?
No. That's not what it is. Ancestry.com has a DNA kit, a mail-in DNA kit, and they send you this plastic tube, and you spit into it. You have to put a very considerable amount of spit into this tube.
Now, to find out you're Egyptian, do they have Hosni Mubarak also spit into a tube? And his spit comes along because he's the father of all Egyptians?
No.
Do you know who Hosni Mubarak is?
I don't.
Do you know
I'm embarrassed. I didn't know the reference, and now I feel...
All right, hold on a second. This is what drives me fucking nuts.
Story of my life.
The Egyptians that just overthrew the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood had overthrown America's ally, Hosni Mubarak, who suddenly was put into a hospital bed for his trial of murdering his countrymen. And now the new group has allowed him out of jail. Sorry, I said something kind of intelligent to a man of former Egyptian background.
Well,
so now they send you a sippy cup and you spit into it, and then what happens?
Just to defend myself quickly, I have a bit on my new album about how I don't give a shit about anything happening outside of the United States. But that's a whole other discussion, Jay. That's just to quickly defend myself for not knowing who that was.
Even the gassing of innocent women and children?
Well, I look at it like this. I know there's terrible things.
Is that a cut on one of your albums? The gassing of innocent women and children? I love when they have the various cuts, you know?
Yeah.
Herpes on my dick, the gassing of innocent women and children. I don't know which one I want to hear first.
Yeah, no, so they sent you this tube, you spit into it, you mail it off, and then a few weeks later they sent you the results. And my results were as follows: 10% Eastern African, which is like Ethiopia, that area. 10% Northern African, which I thought would include Egypt, but it did not. That was like Morocco. And then which is really like Northwestern African. And then that was 18% actually, excuse me. And then 72% was Middle Eastern. So it was like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, maybe a little bit of Iran.
See, if you were in the South up until the 70s, you would be called an octoroon.
Yes.
You know what that is? If you were 1/8 black, if you had 1/8 black blood, you had to put down on the census or whatever that you were black.
Yeah.
You were called an octoroon.
I got more. I got a 1/10.
You're 1/10. Oh, you would have been.
That's less.
You know what? They would have made you move out of your house and right into the ghetto.
I would have been banned. I would have been banned from the South.
You would have been. So now you were the people that gave you up there was an Ethiopian guy in the mix who had some Moroccan blood in him, and then there were some Middle Easterners. Where did they have sex to create you? Do you think?
I always think that it happened in some sort of third world market. They had a little
bazaar
little monkey that they dressed up.
You think maybe your dad bent your mother over some melons and just banged the shit out of her there in the market?
It was on a nice
he got a sword and he would chop some sort of cantaloupe or something with it and sell it and trade it for apples and things, and a monkey would steal their dinner like in Indiana Jones, and it was basically that's how I always pictured it. I never found them. I never went to look for them because I was afraid I'd end up having to liberate a village of some kind.
So how did your family go overseas to get you? Did they have to travel somewhere to get you?
No. I was adopted here. Now, what the agency told my parents was...
Did you float in a wicker basket down the Tigris River?
Jay, I swear to God, that was my first joke that I ever wrote. I swear to God, the first joke I ever wrote when attempting stand-up comedy was, actually, I'm adopted. Actually, I wasn't adopted. My parents found me floating down the river in a basket. That was the first joke I ever wrote.
You got to add the Tigris River. It makes you really smart. Okay, the Tigris. Right. Or the Euphrates. You've got to say, actually, my parents are on vacation, and they saw me floating in a basket down the Euphrates, and that's it. So I'd use that again. So you were in the United States, but you think these people that had you somehow had sex in some sort of they were tent makers of some sort, or they sold rugs or whatever.
Yeah, some sort of market. Maybe they stood outside the airport with some sort of religious guide.
Now, why do you think your parents would take a child of color? Were there no white children available?
I don't know if you're familiar with the adoption process, but trying to find a white baby is very hard. People like myself, it's like going to the bargain bin at Sam Goody. You get a lot, free for $1. There's a lot of kids like me out there that need homes.
You could pass for a white guy, though.
I guess I could. A lady last night at my show didn't believe the heritage I was telling her I was, and she accused me of lying and I was making it up. So I could pass the way. I think I have a nice ambiguous ethnic face. I feel like I could play a lot of different roles on TV.
What you need to do is you need to get pictures of the most Moroccan woman and the most Moroccan man you can find. And there's a bit here somewhere where you bring them on stage with you and you hold these two pictures up of I don't know who, but I think you need to start showing proof on stage of what your parents might. Now the 72% though is Middle Eastern, right?
Yeah, that's the bulk of it. So that was like...
Well, wait a minute. You would have to bring a picture of Osama bin Laden and Marilyn... And wait a minute. Hold it a second. There's this great African singer. There's a great... You should pick... Oh, no. I tell you what. Osama bin Laden and Whoopi Goldberg you ought to bring on stage. Those two pictures.
Writing his act now.
So you went on Ancestry.com and you found out who your parents were. They even sent me pictures. And you got, Osama bin Laden and Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah.
I have been thinking about adding a slideshow to my routine, so...
You know what? People come on here, and they're so fucking funny, and they know what they're doing, and I write them good shit, and they throw it right back in my face. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I give it to you. You can have it. I didn't mean for you to do it like that. I'm sure you're a funny guy. You'll figure it out and make it even better. But no, I'm no one. The awards, the writing, the TV, I'm a nothing. I'm a zero. I'm a nothing. I mean nothing. Nothing.
Can you isolate all that, Gary?
Nothing.
I don't like when you lash out at me like that. It hurts my feelings.
JoeDeRosaComedy.com. You will die. The 2-disc set. One where he's really funny. The other one where he dies. and the whole thing.
For the first disc too. So there you go. The whole theme, Jay.
Now this morning when you got up, what did you write this morning? What fresh new material are you working on right now? Now that this album's going to go out there and no one will ever want to see this material again because it's going to be this huge album and you won't be able to use the material and everything else.
Right.
What did you write this morning? What did you work on?
The absolute newest bit that I'm working on is about motorcyclists and how so many of them complain about the rights of the motorcyclist, yet all they do is just disobey. It's like just an excuse for them to disobey every law or rule of the road completely. So I'm trying to write a commentary on that about I'm tired of this whole like the drivers don't respect the guy on the motorcycle. It's like, hey, douche, we're not the ones cutting between, traffic lanes when everybody's dead stopped and cutting people off and then as soon as somebody hits you, you're going to be the first one to cry. Meanwhile, you're riding around with this sleeveless leather vest on, like you're the toughest man on earth. So I feel like there's something to be said there about the.
What about the motorcyclists that have the big motorcycles? They're always big, huge-assed people with a huge-assed woman hugging them, and I see them in California quite a bit. And it doesn't seem like you're a motorcyclist on those motorcycles. I don't even know what you call them. They're not like the hot rod looking things.
The cruisers?
Yeah. That's not, you might as well have like it's like a
car without doors.
Yeah.
What's the cruiser? Yeah. I don't even know what that is. What is it?
Oh,
if you're
going to talk about motorcycles,
trip on. Like it's all packed up. It has the saddlebags on the side.
Oh, that's okay. I know what you mean.
You're sitting back in it. Yeah, your hands are.
And you have to be really fat to sit on those seats. The seats and the bike itself are made for fat people.
Yeah.
And that's all you see on it. And you see, his woman holding around, around his waist. I saw one guy, his waist was so big. She had to use a seatbelt extender to put her arms around his waist, like a rope or something to hold on to him. Yeah, she couldn't get her arms around him. Right.
I think there's confusion that because the seat is wide, they think that means they're supposed to take up the whole seat. You don't have to take up the whole seat. You can just sit on part of it. But I think they just eat until they're able to take up the full seat. Like as if.
Well, you're going to insult a large group of individuals with this motorcycle.
I always wanted to ride in the sidecar. I know that seems really dangerous, but it's like the best seat in the house, you know?
Christina, I'll get a motorcycle with a sidecar. You can ride it.
Thanks.
So now I've even added to your motorcycle bit, and you weren't even aware of these cruisers. She mentioned sidecar. I'm worried about this bit already, okay?
Look,
I'm very worried. I wish I was your manager. Can you imagine me being your manager? Huh?
You being anybody's manager.
Let me tell you something. Either you're a genius or you're not. Richard Pryor used to come in, get on the table, and he would announce that Munjamba knows everything. And his manager would go, what the fuck is that? Munjamba knows everything. And he did a whole bit about Munjamba, and the manager said, unbelievable. Was a fucking genius. Just come in and do it just like that. That night, Munjamba was I'm telling you.
Well, that was the bit I was going to start working on. I'm glad I did. I was already doing it.
So now you're no longer Egyptian.
Somehow.
And you've got these wonderful Italian parents, Joe.
They're here right now. They're in the next room, actually.
Now, do you have brothers and sisters that are also adopted, or did this happened to my son? I gave my son up for adoption, and then the family, it relaxed, I guess, the mother's eggs or something. They had a child of their own after they adopted my son. So did your parents have a child? No.
Nope. No, it's just the three of us, and they really are here. I'm not joking. They
so you're an only child, and you're adopted.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was more like a room.
That's a minefield.
I think
that's
better than.
That's a mentally defective minefield, right?
You think mentally defected? I would make that would make me feel more special, like I was good enough.
Because you're an only child.
Well, right, I know.
But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever an adopted kid came to my house when I was a kid, my mother would go like this, oh, my God, be nice to her. She's adopted. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
She'd always whisper.
I got none of that.
None of that. None of that.
No, I think I...
And the other one was, they told you were adopted from the first day, which I've never agreed with. Ever. Ever.
Yeah,
I think when you're 25 or 6, you're having a big birthday party, and it gives you, the parents, something to do at a later date that's exciting.
They told me from a young age.
I know they did. That was the psychology back then. I've always disagreed with that.
Well,
of course, they were these two white people with this black child, so they had to probably tell you right away.
Yeah, and I don't believe that I'm actually adopted. I believe that that was something to keep me down.
They lied to you.
Some kind of boy.
All right. Joe DeRosa.
It always gets so
You will
awkward
die.
then, right? Why does it always get so awkward?
It isn't awkward. It's fine.
It's not awkward.
It's not awkward. Now, where are you? Are you in California?
Jay, I'm in New York.
You're in New York.
Yeah. Remember he ran into Christina last week? And
you want to hear something? Until I looked at the sheet today, I didn't remember Joe DeRosa from the fucking fire hydrant I pissed on last night. Okay?
God. Now it's awkward.
I had a lot of people on here. I can't remember everybody that comes on.
Well, I love
you.
I love you.
You were Egyptian. I thought you were Dave Attell when I first saw the sheet today. I was stunned. Now, wait a minute. No. Yeah, go ahead, Garrett.
Did your DNA test also tell you how much Neanderthal you have in you? That's a new
No, it doesn't. It doesn't go back that
Neanderthal.
That's a new thing where you could figure
Neanderthal. You mean Neanderthal?
No, tall.
Who are you, Madame Curie? All of a sudden,
Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Neanderthal.
Yeah. It is. It's tall. There's no. You don't say the H.
Man.
Yep.
By the way, Garrett has so much saliva in his mouth, he must have found he was Slavic. That's my
job. Oh, boy.
That's a good one. Well, I'm going to go spit in a cup. I'm going to go spit in a cup and call Ancestry.com and find out where I'm from. You Will Die, available online. Where are you performing anytime soon? In New York area where we can send people where?
Well, this weekend I'll be at the Improv in Atlanta, Georgia, and the weekend after that I'll be at the Stand in New York. So if you're around, come to a show, please.
Now, your mom and dad, are you nervous when they're in the audience watching you?
I'm nervous when they're in the next room and I call into this show.
And are they proud of you that you're a stand-up? I mean, they'd adopted you. They were hoping that you become a doctor and turn out, special, which you are special, I'm sure. But when you announced you were going to be a stand-up comedian, did you have an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent who said, I told you not to adopt a mixed race? Because you were going to be trouble. You weren't going to have a regular job. They'd have to support you forever.
They were excited, man. They're thrilled. They love it. They were excited. I'm not just saying this. They were excited that I was calling into your show today. They know who you are. They're fans. They were excited. Yeah.
Come on. They're old enough to know who you are.
Come on.
I swear to God. They were excited. I was like, we were hanging out watching a movie, and I was like, Mom, I'm sorry. I got to go in the other room. I got to do this radio call. And I said, I hate to have to leave right now, but I got to go do this. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I got to call the Jay Thomas show. And she said, oh my God, go do that. Absolutely.
Wow.
I was like, well, I'm going to do it. But she was like, yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that.
Well, please tell your mother and your father, thanks for adopting you and allowing a child from another country to come over and get the food of a kid from this country that probably isn't eating it. Hey, you know what I was reading today? I'm reading about all these Vietnam vet guys who are 60 and 70, and now they're all sad that they banged all these Vietnamese women and they left these Amerasian kids back in Vietnam. It's a huge group. And they're now searching for them and all. And as I sit there and I'm reading it, I'm going, are you kidding? You're in Vietnam, and they're now making these women out like they were their girlfriends and shit. I mean, come on, stop it. Stop it. And now they're old men, and they're retired, and they're sitting on their couch going, oh, I wonder what happened to my Amerasian child. I hate that shit. I hate it. You're supposed to do that at 35 years old or whatever, when it counts. And now they've got their unusual-looking children flying over from Vietnam, or they go over there, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you know exactly. Hey, hindsight's 20/20. This is the epitome of that, I would think, right?
Yeah.
And that's why. That's look. There you go. That's what's that called? Not repercussions.
Now you even make fun of your mother's stay in the hospital. What was your mom in the hospital for?
She unfortunately had cancer for a little while, but she's okay now. She's all better.
It was more
and
so
you made
about
fun
the
of that?
nurses and stuff, right? Like the way that they handled everything.
Yeah, I didn't make fun of
You're a comedian.
in the hospital. I made fun of the fact that nurses are this occupation that gets this like martyr treatment, as if none of them can just be doing the job to get through the day. And I just talked about how like you run into bad nurses when you're in a hospital. Not that you don't run into great ones too, but it's like any other job. When you spend a lot of time in the industry, you start to realize like, oh, there are a lot of people that are just kind of doing this for the check. So I just, I made some jokes about that apparently made some nurses very angry and thought that any nurse, just because she's a nurse, means she's an angel, and it's just not true.
But I mean, what would you? I mean, this isn't really comedic commentary. You're kind of making a very, very rude statement, I think. What was your joke about? What was your joke about the nurses? Did you have a joke? Is there a joke? Is there a?
There's many jokes
that would bring laughter to my face after making fun of the hardest working group of individuals.
The hardest working group of individuals.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Well, of course they are. They come in, they got to clean the crap out of the bed, and they got to listen to that bell ring, and, it's hard. They got to take like blood, and people squirm and everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, did you meet a nurse and date her when your mom was in the hospital?
I mean, I understand how grueling it must be to have to go to school for 2 years and then make $90,000 a year to work a 40 to 50-hour week. I mean, my God.
Okay, hold on a minute.
These people are paying.
All right, hold on a minute. Yeah. You're a nurse. You're in a hospital. Mm-hmm. A leg is removed. Who do you think takes it out of the operating room? The nurse takes it out.
Yeah.
She has to take a severed limb.
It's in a box.
And put it into the proper dispensary, okay? That's not an easy day.
Sure. Yeah, it's like
that's not an easy thing.
Used to work on the car, and he would go, hand me that screwdriver. And then I'd walk away and go, man, I really took care of that engine. You know, I'm fine. I'm going to write up 10 more minutes on nurses after I hang up with you.
Now, does your mother feel the same way about the treatment she received in the hospital?
No. She received some very terrific treatments. From not nurses and doctors alike, and she's all better because of it. However, there were some healthcare individuals in the process that I was very underwhelmed with, and I wrote some jokes about that observation. You know, I don't think that's discrediting what anybody did for her. You know,
was it only the ones that you hit on and had no interest in you?
Right, it was only the ones that wouldn't. Yeah, that
wouldn't sleep with you.
The hint when I'd say, let's step into the closet where you keep the urine cups. And they wouldn't do it. And I wrote mean jokes.
I'll tell you what, if you watch any, Grey's Anatomy or ER or whatever, they're all so interested and earnest. I mean, same thing in all the cop shows, and I've done all those cop shows and all Law and Order. And I look at them and my wife watches every episode 100 times, and I go, none of this happens in a hospital, nor does it happen every day in a police station. It does not. And they're not that interested in all that shit, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was my point with nurses, and I made the parallel to cops. I was like, it's just like cops. There's a lot of really wonderful cops out there, but there are a lot that are just like, hey, man, this is a living. I'll go to school I'll go to the academy for a couple of years, or however long it takes. You get out, early retirement, decent pension, job security. Like, there are people that look at it for those reasons, and I think some of those people are the ones that turn out to be bad at the job. I think if you want it to be a cop or you want it to be a nurse, there's a great responsibility that comes with that. And I think if your first notion isn't, I want to serve and protect, or health care is something that I think is vital and I want to uphold that, then I think, you're getting off on the wrong foot when you're looking at it as, well, I guess I could do this thing. This job, I guess, financially makes sense. That was my only point. But, the backlash to that for some reason. And what's funny? Cops never got mad at me. No cop ever got mad at me about any of that. And I did that joke a million times in front of cops. It was always a nurse that would get mad at me. But then...
because it's mostly men. Cops are mostly men.
Yes. Yeah. And nurses are
and lesbians, mostly men and lesbians, and and lesbians have a lot of testosterone, and so they feel like men.
Yes, I agree.
By the way, I'm going to say this right now: I love lesbian cops. I love them. They're my favorite. They get out of the car. They got the belt. They got the gun. They got the spray. They got the radio.
The shoulders.
They got the whole thing. The shoulders.
The wide shoulders.
Wide shoulders. They come out. I love them. Now, here's another thing. We've got this right here in my little town of Santa Barbara. Some guy, some ex-football player guy, his car broke down or something, and he goes to somebody's house, and he tries to, get them to call somebody for him or whatever. They won't call. So he goes next door, and he tries to break into the house next door. And a cop comes. And the woman calls the cops, says, look, this guy said his car broke down. I didn't want to help him. I didn't know any, and now he's trying to break in to the house next door. So the cop comes up, and the guy, and I don't know whether the guy's black or white, I really don't, starts running at the cop, right? Mm-hmm. And the cop tases the guy, hits him with a taser. And the guy keeps coming at him. The cop pulls his gun out and kills him. Okay. And so now they're going to arrest the cop for voluntary manslaughter. I have never heard of a cop shooting, ever. Even in California, even in New York, where the guys at 4 a.m. were coming out of that drug den there in Queens, and the cops thought they were trying to run over them or whatever, and they filled the car with 6,500 shots. There should be a sign up. If you run at a policeman, or if you have errant behavior around a man who has a Glock in his holster, you may get killed.
Right.
I just don't get it. You don't run at a guy with a gun. You don't act weird in front of him. You don't act drunk. And when they tase you, you go down.
you lie down. There ought to be signs all over every city in the United States that announces that. I mean, and I don't ever feel sorry for a guy running at a cop who gets blown away. I never have. Never will.
I know, I have a mixed emotion about that. I know a few cops. Now, one cop told me when you, 9 times out of 10, like the first few times you even have to discharge your firearm on duty, you unload the entire clip before you can even have the gun pointed at anything. You're so nervous and crazed.
Yes.
Like as you're bringing the gun up to point it, you unload the entire clip because it's so terrifying. So if you're getting shot at and that happens, or you're getting shot at and you shoot a guy and kill him by accident, or you shoot him too many times, I have a little more understanding of that. However, if a guy's running at you and you kill, I mean, I guess it depends on where you shoot him. I mean, I would think. Well,
he tased the guy first. He tased him. They're not allowed to do that. I didn't know that, but a cop told me they're not allowed to wound people. That's only in the cowboy movies. Not allowed to wound people.
They have to shoot to kill?
You shoot to kill. Well, you got to shoot to the largest mass. They're not Wyatt Earp. You know, they're not Annie Oakley. They're cops. They're guys like you and I. And you've got to shoot to the mass.
It actually just happened today in the city.
Then what was he doing wrong? If you have to shoot at the mass, and he did, and then the guy died, what did he do wrong? I don't understand. What else was he supposed to do?
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying that they don't understand what the guy did, but he was running at the cop. Of course, the signs are all over the town. Fight police brutality, protect our youth, justice for Brian, killer cops off the street. How do you spell murderer? Santa Barbara Police Department, SBPD. Can you imagine? You come to Santa Barbara, the quietest, silliest, stupid town in the world. You know, there's nothing but killer cops in that town.
No, today right by Port Authority, a crazy guy was trying to hurt himself by like throwing himself into traffic and blah, blah. And he finally saw some cops and started to charge at them. And he pretended to pull out a gun. So they shot a few times and hit 2 innocent people and missed him, and then finally got a taser out and tased him and took him into custody. But 2 people are shot now on the street.
Jesus God.
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah, now, the guy I'm reading about here, some guy might have had a knife, and they're saying, why didn't they shoot the knife out of his hand? And that's when I read, they said they're not trained to do that. They're trained to, shoot at the mass. You're exactly correct.
Out of his head. Who are they? Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Exactly. You're not going to be able to do that.
Ridiculous.
Now, I know that there are bad cops. I know that they're but they're bad everything, right? But you get stopped by the cops. You get stopped by the cops. I keep my hands on the wheel. I'm yes sir. I'm no sir. Whatever they want to give me. I'm fine.
There's bad people at every job, and that's my point. There's no one group of people that should get a free pass all the time. There's bad people at every job, and the reason there are bad people at every job is because most people don't like their jobs. So I just get annoyed when you can't criticize one group and get told, like, well, they're off limits. For years people said priests were off limits. You weren't allowed to criticize them. They were pretty wrong about that. So
they were wrong about it.
Good point.
It's just...
I went to an all-boys school, and we have had no scandal, and I don't know anybody that didn't diddle a priest in high school. Maybe they wanted to or whatever. We knew the priests that were gay, and I never saw it. But my mother always told me that if anybody ever touched me, to scream, to make a noise, to do something. What's weird is how none of these kids would go home and tell their parents what happened. It's like I told my kids, if anybody ever fools with you, you say something, you scream, or you come home immediately and say, some guy did something to me. That's the weird thing, They were revered. The priests were you raised Catholic, by the way?
Yeah. Roman
Did a priest ever come to dinner at your house ever?
Oh yeah, many times. We
that's like when the
Yeah, my dad's a
still have,
so we still have very close priest friends to the family. Absolutely.
Anybody in your church diddle anybody in the parish?
No, nobody in the church I grew up in got into. There was nothing. Everybody was a good guy. Everybody was clean. My high school, however, there was a priest from my high school that went up the river when all that stuff happened, and I honestly can't remember his name. But when I heard, I was like, what? Like, it was, I couldn't believe it. Like, he was a really nice and respectable guy all the time. So I was shocked when I heard that he had done that. I mean, maybe
when all this was happening years ago, I did a luncheon at my high school at Jesuit High in New Orleans, and it was right in the middle of the scandal. Right? And so I said, I went to school here for 4 years, and I just want to say that, no priest ever touched me. And it was completely silent. And I said, all I can figure is what, my ass wasn't good enough for you? And it got a laugh, but it got a huge groan also. And I was sorry I said that afterward. I was really sorry I said it. But,
I love that you said it.
Yeah, I'm glad I said it too. But, there were some guys that hung around with some priests, and I think the kids that hung with the priests were probably 15-year-old gay guys. You know what I mean? Some of them, right? And then some of the people that turned the priest in, you'd go, you look pretty fucked up already. You know what I mean? It's like that woman that screwed Roman Polanski and says, really, it wasn't that bad. And when you read what he did to her, it's not just bad, it's horrible. He gave her champagne and Quaaludes at 13 and anally raped her in a park. And she's writing a book. Now, Christina, she won't come on the show, right? You talked to her?
I talked to her publicist.
And then she doesn't want to come on this show.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, she's a pig.
She's pretty much forgiven him. But
that's gross. That's gross. And then write a book about this awful thing. It's so gross. Don't get me started, Jay. Don't get me started.
Joe DeRosa, comedy.com. Go take your parents out to one of those buffets that you get, can clip the cards off. Where are you going for dinner?
It's funny. We have reservations for 6 o'clock at a place called Rye that I'm going to take them to.
All right. Have a great time. All right.
Thank you.
You Will Die, the 2-disc set. The real album is personally and professionally mixed and edited. And then on the back, it's At the Mercy of Drunks, I would imagine. And that's it. And if you want to find out where Joe DeRosa is and find out if he develops any of the humor, any of the ideas, the seeds of great comedy that he was given here on the Jay Thomas Show. To be honest, knowing Joe these last 2 times, I don't think he's bright enough to use the material or to develop it in the way that I would have developed it. But my comedy days are over. I'm just here now as a mentor for others.
Will you remember Joe now from now on?
Oh, I'll never forget Joe as long as I live.
Wow.
I think you said that
I'll never forget him.
Yeah.
No, I'll never forget him as long as I live. He's one of my favorite guests.
How many times are we going to have to reference the tattoo after this, Garrett?
I'll tell you what. The next time I come to New York, like in December when I come back, you'll come in the studio and you'll guest talk show host with me.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that, Jay. Honestly,
and I'd like you to be funnier than you were on this interview.
Oh.
No pressure.
I want you to try and live with that statement until December 20th. Would you please?
It's going to hang over my head. Thanks. Dinner's ruined.
It will.
Thanks a lot.
The great Joe DeRosa. Thank you so much. Egyptian.
Thanks, Jay.
Moroccan, Middle Eastern, adopted. Unbelievable. What a man. See you, Joe. Thank you.
10.
All right. Yeah, we got to get those cups and spit in them and find out who our ancestors are. Oh, my God. He's the Son of God. It's hard to imagine that I'm about to talk to the world's most quoted man in all of news. And I guess I've seen him on the news. I've heard people like Ann Coulter talk of him. Greg Packer, welcome to the Jay Thomas Show. How are you, Greg?
Good, Jay. How you doing?
I'm good. the most quoted man in the news, and you're a retired highway maintenance worker from Huntington, New York. Now, when did you decide that you would be at every event, I guess the first person in line at almost every major event, what, in the New York area or the United States? What's your field of appearing?
It's been mostly in New York, but I've traveled, different places, with different things, pretty much throughout the United States.
And how do you, so you'll be the first guy in line for the new iPhone or iPad or something. Or you'll be the first, like give us some of the quintessential firsts. Now you started this, 12, 13 years ago or something? Longer than that? How long have you been doing this?
Close to it. I mean, I've been doing all these different things since the early 90s.
Right. So what was the first event, and then name the other? Well, first of all, before you do that, you're sitting on your couch and you're watching TV and you've retired and you go, I'm going to start being the first person that people talk to at major events. Was that it?
Well, that's among other things, Jay. I mean, since I retired back in June of 2006, I said to myself, instead of being on my couch watching TV, I figured let me get out and let me do, let me see the country a little bit and let me do all these different things.
Mm-hmm. But to decide to camp out somewhere, you have to camp out for days to be the first in line, right?
Well, it depends what it is. I mean, back when the iPhone first came out in June of 2007, I did close to a week camp out. But
you camped out for 1 week in front of the Apple Store. Now, here's the weird thing. You didn't buy an iPhone, did you?
I bought an iPhone. Yes, I did. At that time.
Oh, you did buy it. I thought you just were first in line, got interviewed, but didn't buy an iPhone. So you did buy one.
Yes, I did. I've since moved up to the iPhone 4, and as of right now, I'm up to the Apple Store, Fifth Avenue. Among the first people, to get the newest iPhone on Friday.
You mean you're already camping out for the new iPhone on Friday?
Already, yes.
Are you first in line?
I'm not the first one. I'm amongst the first. I mean, The first people in line, Jay, have been here back when the new iPhone was first announced.
Are you on a first name basis with everybody over there?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the few people that that are here now, yes, I am.
Well, 16 separate times the Associated Press has quoted you. Probably more than that now. It's because years have passed. 20 times by Newsday, the Daily News, the New York Post has quoted you, in double digits. And so the first thing you did was the iPhone. And then what was the next thing you decided? Like a concert or to get a ticket, or what was the next thing you did?
What, after the iPhone?
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember what it was exactly, Jay, but I do remember that it must have been maybe for a concert or a game or signing, or maybe even it was a parade around New York. I do all these different things, Jay, and, sometimes it's easy to keep track of what's coming up, and sometimes it's hard.
Now, you were the first in line in 1997 to sign the condolences book at the British consulate when Princess Di died. So, I mean, I wasn't even aware we were doing that. So you read about that and you rushed down to the British consulate. And how many days did you camp out to sign that book?
That must have been maybe either overnight or a couple days. But I know I was one of the first people to sign it, yes.
And what did you say to dead Princess Di? What was your quote?
Jay, I mean, you sign a book to express your condolences. And
right.
When you sign a book, it's personal. It's from your heart.
Mm-hmm. Even though there are many people that think the driver was all coked up and she was in the back seat doing coke with that Arab guy and all that. You ever hear those stories?
I do know, Jay, that 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 the accident was caused. When the paparazzi was like really crazy, really aggressive, and it's like they just didn't know when to leave her alone.
What did you write? What this will be good. This will go down in history when people visit the consulate. They'll see it when they go online to talk about Princess Di. There will be a Gregory Packer's quote. What is your quote to Princess Di?
That she was a blessing to all of us, including all of us here in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you meet Pope John Paul II?
From the distance.
From a distance.
Yes. I mean, but a lot of times, Jay, you're still meeting people from the distance, and being in Giant Stadium, when I saw him in his Pope-mobile, you feel a connection.
Right. And you were quoted because you were first in line to get into the stadium that day?
I remember one of the first, yes. I was, so happy to witness that service that, I was, constantly on the phone, with my family. I was, so happy to witness history.
And you're quoted as, the Jewish people are fans of Pope John Paul II. He does not limit his message to one faith. He reaches out to everybody. So that's well thought out. You've got your quote in your head. And do the news people seek you out? I would think after a while they would go, we don't want this. This guy's always in line first. And all. Do they never get tired of quoting you?
Well, like you saw with the Associated Press, Jay, sometimes yes, sometimes no. With the Associated Press, yes. With the New York Times now, yes. But with others, no. I mean, the others, besides the AP and the Times for that matter, I mean, I know how happy they are to talk to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the New York Times is just, they get their noses up their asses. They think they're so important, right?
Well, I'm important too, Jay.
I know you are. I know you are. Now, Mr. Packer has you've been quoted on your reaction to military strikes against Iraq. Where would you stand to make that quote? Have you made a statement about Syria? Did you go stand somewhere right away, and so they quote you about what was going on in whether Barack Obama was going to bomb Syria?
I haven't been asked that yet, Jay. But from what I've been reading, I mean, I just hope we're not back at square one. I mean,
that would be your quote. I hope we're not back at square one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if anything, Jay, I just hope that we've learned from 9/11, and we should have learned from from the Boston Marathon tragedies. But if we go to war against Syria, we haven't learned anything.
Right.
I can see that.
I'm not so sure those quotes are as important as you get in the front. Now, what about not once but twice you've been quoted on New Year's Eve celebrations at Times Square? Does that mean for days you get right in the front where I guess Dick Clark used to be or whatever? You're squeezed up against that railing that they put up? You're there for days?
The days of being there for days now is over, Jay. I mean, it's just sad that everything has become a search at the New Year's Eve celebrations.
What does that mean?
It means you got to line up, you got to compete with all the tourists, okay? And NYPD, they put their, they wind you down and up and back and forth. And, I usually have my spots, picked out. but like when these tourists, start invading, Times Square, just end up being pushed to the back.
All right. So maybe your days of being the most quoted man in America could be coming to an end.
I don't think it is, Jay. I really don't think it is. I mean, if anything, I'm just going to keep going as long as I possibly can.
And you were quoted at the Bill Clinton fundraiser at Alec Baldwin's home in the Hamptons. You went all the way to the Hamptons, and you were the first in line to piss Alec Baldwin off at his own home, right?
If that was the case, Jay, I think Alec Baldwin would have said something to me saying, get the fuck out of here. No different than what he does with all the photographers.
You're right. But did he speak to you? Did Alec Baldwin speak to you?
No.
Okay. All right. The Pope's visit to the stadium, of course, Yankees games, Mets games, Jets. Now, he's quoted. He didn't just get in line. He's quoted. Were you the first in line at the opening of the viewing stand of Ground Zero?
Oh, yeah. And Jay, that was a biggie for me.
That is a big deal. So they interview you, and what was your statement about that?
Part of me was happy
right.
that there was a viewing platform, but part of it was sad because, like I told you earlier, Ground Zero was made into a tourist attraction. Jay, it's no tourist attraction. It's a cemetery.
Right.
And I want everybody to know that. It's a cemetery.
And they quoted that in the in the newspapers around the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, the most quoted man in America, at least. You also turned up at the opening of an H&M clothing store on Fifth Avenue. First in line for that.
Yeah.
None of those clothes would fit you. You know that, don't you? None of those clothes are for little skinny, no body fat teenage types.
Well, Jay, if I have to make them fit, I make them fit. The same goes for Robbie and Fitch too.
All right. There he is. Now, you're in line right now, and Christina, maybe Friday morning we can have Greg back on when we do the Howard 101 show.
Okay.
And see if he gets, I want to see who talks to you or whatever. Greg Packer. And how do people contact you, Greg, if they want to, find out where you are?
You could go to my email, grego11743@hotmail.com.
That's easy.
And
That's
he's
simple,
on Twitter,
Garrett.
at Greg Goes.
Greg Goes on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The most quoted man in America, Greg Packer. Thank you so very much, Greg. Thank you.
Jay, it was a pleasure talking to you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Wow. Mariah Carey, Garth Brooks, Dennis Rodman, Ringo Starr, presidents, everything. I've never quite understood that motivation, but there are people that just need to...
There are people that are really passionate.
I guess. I don't know that I would define it as passion, but...
passionate about getting their voice heard? That's what social media is all about. He was just doing it...
Well, he gets in line for days.
Yeah, he did it the old-fashioned way.
He's all stinky, and he's in line. He can't bathe. You know what? I have a question for him. Would you call him back?
Sure. Is it about the
We haven't done this in a long time, Garrett.
Question. Well, he's not here right now. I'm running.
Garrett, do you know what the question is?
Garrett's not here right now.
Oh, Garrett's gone? Mm-hmm. You have any idea what my question is?
Well, I hope it's the same as mine, which is where do you use the restroom?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Excellent.
Does somebody hold your place because after a few days, there are thousands of people behind you, right?
Yep.
So how do you squeeze out, take a leak or a dump or whatever, and then they let you back into your spot? I don't think so.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
I absolutely
It's not the people in the front.
Not unless he's showing me some dollar bills,
It would be all the people in the back going, hey, what are you doing? Where are you going? Well, I'm in the front. Really? You're in the front. No, I've been in the front for 5 days. I had to go to the bathroom. Let's get him back on. Gregory, it's Jay Thomas. I forgot to ask you a very important question. Are you available to speak? Yeah. We were wondering, you're standing in line at an event where by the time the event's about to start, people are crushing you against the barricade. How do you go to the bathroom? How does somebody hold your place? And then you try to get back in there. How do you do it?
It depends, where it is, Jay. I mean, if it's up against the barricade at New Year's, you have to watch, you watch what you eat and watch what you drink.
You have to be careful that you don't need to urinate or poo-poo.
Exactly.
Wow.
Okay.
Do you ever wear like a tube, some sort of a tube that you urinate into that's down your leg or something?
No, that's a colostomy bag you're thinking of, Jay. And
no, not a colostomy bag. There's a thing you can put down your leg and you can pee into, if you have to.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking of, Jay, but not. Yeah. It's not. I don't use anything like that. And the same goes like if I'm at a concert where you're like crushed up to the barrier, and you have to,
Well, what's the longest you've gone without peeing or shitting?
I would have to say maybe about anywhere from like maybe 6 or 8 hours to within a day. But it depends
2
on
or 3.
the situation.
Wow. Well, you better have your kidneys checked, okay?
Well, I'm fine, Jay. I mean...
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
now, how does your family feel about this? You have a wife and children?
No wife, no kids. I'm single.
I'm shocked. All right. Gregory Packer, the most quoted man in America. Thank you, Gregory, very much.
I appreciate your time, Jay. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Can you imagine? He has no wife and no children.
That was the most shocking part of the interview. Most revealing, yeah.
You think that if he ever does find himself a lady, that he'll upgrade his folding chair to the one with the double seat?
I will tell you the strangest thing. Years ago, when I was in New York, and I actually dated this woman for a while, and she was a writer. And maybe you guys don't remember this, but there was a guy dressed as the Statue of Liberty, but it wasn't like they have them now. They were making a statement. They would be dressed as one guy wore these billboards on his body. This is like when Times Square was, awful. And it wasn't like, to take pictures with people did, but they were kind of crazy people. And one guy was dressed as Uncle Sam. He wore a top hat. He wore red, white, and blue pants and a short coat, red, white, and blue. And he had these signs, and it was about men's rights. He was fighting for men's rights. And then there was a woman that was the Statue of Liberty, and you could take pictures with her, but she was making a statement. There was a guy that was painted all silver, but they were completely out of their minds. So I'm going out with this woman who was a writer, and I guess I'm asking her about her parents or whatever, and I said, where are you from? And she's from New York and all. Excuse me, she was actually from Philadelphia. And I said, what does your dad do for a living? And she would never tell me. And then one day she said, my dad is Uncle Sam in Times Square. I said, you mean the guy with the signs fighting for men's rights? She goes, yeah, that's my dad. And she said that's the book she was writing about her dad. And he was like an insane guy who one day, not an insane guy, like she said, one day he just got so angry, not his wife or anybody else, he just got so angry he needed to make a statement. So he left their home, dressed as Uncle Sam, and started making his statement. It's like the crazy naked cowboy, he was around before you had the cartoon characters and everything in Times Square. He's just an insane guy that took all of his clothes off, down to his underwear, freezing cold, and started taking pictures with people. It's like a weird insanity, like this guy Packer that we just had on. There's a screw loose in there somewhere. Complete screw loose.
He likes what he likes.
Oh, you're one of those?
Why does it matter? It doesn't affect me what he does. If he likes doing it, fine.
Oh, you're one of those.
What's the difference?
I married one like you. Why do you have to comment? What difference does it make? Let him do what he wants to do. No, because when I walk down the street and I see it, I go, why do I have to see this nut while I'm trying to enjoy the scenery around?
My dad golfs 6 to 7 times a week.
Yeah.
He probably golfs more than this guy waits online. Now, is that a weird thing? Because he does one thing over and over again? It's just, that's
I don't like
hobby.
guys that golf that much. I golf a lot, but I don't like guys that that's too much.
Wow.
That's too much.
You got to be even, Steve.
Your dad's running away from something. Okay, Garrett?
Mm-hmm. What do you think it is?
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Does he play cards and that dice game that they have in that little leather cup with the guys after the game? He hangs around the bar.
No. He's kind of in and out. Maybe like a drink afterwards, but he does play cards maybe once or twice a month with friends, but not after.
So 6 to 7 days a week, your dad's on the golf course for 5 hours a day.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not that long, but.
Well, okay. But he plays full 18 holes.
Yes.
That's a lot of golf. I actually know guys that do that, but they're single. Your dad's not single, is he?
No.
Girlfriend. His wife, he has a girlfriend?
Yeah.
And she thinks that's okay?
I'm sure she does. They've been together for 25 years or something, so.
How come he never married her?
Because he was married once and learned his lesson.
From your mother?
Like, why get married again? It's not like they want to have kids or anything.
Right. Well, he's getting the milk. Why buy the cow?
She was married, too, so I think they were both just fed up.
Does she play golf?
No.
Well, she must be glad he's gone all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, thousands of chickens are slaughtered every year right in the middle of, like, Beverly Hills, which is a big kosher Jewish neighborhood. There's also a place called the Wilshire District. I'm telling you that there are these sects of Jewish people, and there's also sects of Middle Easterners that kill animals in the backyards of their apartment buildings and their homes in the middle of Los Angeles. And it's been going on for years. So this woman decides to go and stop these Orthodox Jewish people from sacrificing these chickens, right? So she goes and she chains herself to the cages where the Jewish people have their chickens. And the Jewish guys just came and got the chickens. And every time they opened the door, it crushed her hands in the door.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's online or not, but she's chained herself to these chicken cages, right? And you see a guy reaching over her, opening the door, and she goes, oh, my hand. He doesn't say a word to her, not a word. I mean, because I don't even think he's allowed to speak to a woman that's not his relative or whatever. Gets the chicken out, wrings its neck in front of her, okay? And then closes the gate. And she's going, oh, they're crushing my hands. And no one helped her. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's the most incredible. I'm sure she's with PETA or whatever. And these are rabbis, but they just kept getting the chickens, I
like it. Be like if one of those hippies were sleeping up in the tree and someone just started cutting it down.
Well, they've done that.
They've cut it down while the people were up there?
Yep.
No way. Yep. That's awesome.
Last thing they hear is timber. Timber. Dear Jay, I was listening on Friday morning, and you discussed a blind man in Iowa who had gotten a gun, right, and he wanted a driver's license. Well, YouTube has the self-driving Google car, and there's a blind guy driving it. From Casey. Look, I don't want to live in a world where blind people operate equipment and guns. I'm sorry they're blind, but I don't want to live in that world. What happens if you're in the car
and the Google computer car, it breaks. The computer crashes. They won't even be able to see the reboot button.
Well, what
They're blind.
If you're driving your car and your brakes break.
You can see. You can put on the emergency brake. You can put it in the park. You can do something.
Oh, they wouldn't even know they're on a course to destruction.
No, they'd be like feeling around, they'd be looking out of the side window going, I don't know what's going on. They won't know where they are. They'll be like John F. Kennedy flying into, Cape Cod, right there at the worst possible time a human being can fly to Cape Cod without, having, the IFR, rating.
Yeah.
He had no idea where he was, JFK Jr. No idea. He didn't know whether the sky was up or the ocean was down. Had no idea. He just put that plane into the water. It seems impossible, but every pilot I know says you fly in some sort of late afternoon or early morning mist or some nonsense. It's like the most dangerous time for a plane. Didn't know where he was, and the plane was upside down. Did you know that?
That's what they say.
When he went in. My guess is they were doing blow all the way from, wherever they took off from to Cape Cod. And his foot was broken.
Yeah.
So he couldn't really, do the flaps or anything, Dear Jay, Howard was mentioning your appearance on Ray Donovan. Too bad he'll never let you play what he said about you on the afternoon show. You're all so smart. This guy, Tom, he's always sending me messages. Garrett, we can't play it.
I'll play it. I don't care.
What are they going to do to us?
I don't know.
He's not listening.
Yeah, but all the fans listen and then tattletale.
They'll tell.
Now,
did they ever say to you, don't ever...
They feel like, then they like to use the word associate
all right, I tell you
producer.
What.
And then
we'll play it, but no one tell.
Yeah.
All right, fair deal.
Okay? All of you listening, because if you tell...
Somebody's tweeting him right now.
Christina may get fired.
Don't do that.
Because I'm not taking a rap for it.
Thank God this is all recorded.
Now, how much trouble will we get in, do you think? Is there any kind of trouble?
Christina will, since it was her idea. But
since there's no real producer of this show.
Yeah.
What can they do?
She's the highest on the command ladder. So
that's right.
Yep.
So go ahead, run a little bit.
Yes, Mark, go ahead. You're on the air.
Okay, that's enough. Right. That's enough. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. All right, that's all.
You got scared?
I did. That's it right there. Thank you, Garrett.
Was it a good clip, though? Did you listen to it?
No, I didn't listen.
Oh.
I don't give a shit. I tell you what. Can you listen to it without it being on the air and then give us a play-by-play of what's being said?
Yeah, while it's happening?
Yeah, but can you keep the sound down?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I tell you what. Garrett Andrews, when we come back, we'll do a recreation. Now, I want you both to listen to it, and Christina, you can play Robin.
Okay.
If she's in there, okay?
Okay.
And there'll be a recreation of what Howard Stern apparently said, very nice things about me, and my appearance on Ray Donovan. Stay where you are. Recreation coming up. So there are two separate worlds here. There's that world in the back where the big black fist is on the door, the Howard Stern world. And then on the other side, there's the, all of us in steerage. And so we're not allowed to run, anything out of that world over here. So Howard apparently complimented me or had a discussion with someone. And now Garrett will listen to it, I guess, with Christina. Did you listen to her on the break or no?
No, I thought we were going to listen to it live.
No, you're going to do a recreation.
Oh, I thought you wanted us to listen to it live while it wouldn't be on the air, and we would reenact it as we're listening to it.
Well, I thought it would be better if you listened to it first and had some idea.
You were talking to us the entire break.
Yeah. Your fault.
Why don't you say, Jay, we're trying to listen to something. Talk to us later.
I thought the whole premise was listen to it live.
Well, can you do that? Can you do it now?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Hold on, I gotta set it up here.
You know what? Oh, we should have come right back and blasted into it. Okay? Blasted into it. The new programming director's listening. This is not the way I normally run the show.
Now,
our 28th program director they hired last Tuesday.
Yes. Can you hear it now, Jay?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, this is a recreation of what Howard Stern and maybe Robin said. Here we go. Go ahead.
Yes, Mark, go ahead. You're on the air. Hey, now. Hey, Jay, did you hear, did you see Ray Donovan with Jay Thomas?
Yes. Oh, forget it. Yeah.
It was real good. It was real good, guys. Jay was real good. Not a huge part.
He did a great job.
I won't say what it is, but he did a great job. Jay's a great actor.
And it was so much fun to see him just show up there. I didn't know he was going to show up.
A lot of people are criticizing he went over the top and like Harvey Levin. No, I think he played it well. It's Jay, it's Jay.
If it was any other actor, you would just let it go.
Jay's not a bad actor, It's pretty good.
Wow.
All right, later.
Wow.
That's Jay's problem, though. Jay doesn't know what he wants to be.
Right.
He's like a radio guy, but he wants to be an actor, and I do America's Got Talent, but I'm pretty clear on what I am in the clip ends.
What? Why did he have to say that?
Very well done, Garrett. Very well done.
Thank you.
That was his big finish. I don't know what I want to be.
But he does America's Got Talent. That's the big finish.
You know this king of all media thing?
Uh-oh.
I think you'd have to do more than one movie to really be the king of all media. You do more than one TV show. You know what I'm saying? You have to be a little more versatile to be considered the king of all media.
I can't believe this.
Let me look back on my career.
Okay.
Stand-up.
Yep.
National TV, check. Comedy, check. Acting.
Check.
Theater.
Check.
Theater.
Okay. You ever write a newspaper article?
Yes, I have.
Check.
Hosting of quiz shows. Check. I've written sports articles.
Check.
I've written and produced movies.
Check.
Okay. I'm a broadcaster. I've done sports. Check. Okay. I've done radio DJ. Been a pundit on television. Talk on the air now.
I ran out of fingers.
Let me ask you a question.
Ran out of ink in my pen.
Let me ask you a question. I'm the dictator of all media. I'm not a king. I'm the dictator.
Is that above
the
king?
Dictator.
I could have the king killed if I wanted to have him killed. How about that? I allow some
now you're fired.
to pretend he's the king.
This was a good run, Garrett.
Yeah. I'm the dictator. The dictator. Right. Dear Jay, I heard you talk about you and your cousins in the field in Louisiana plugging a watermelon and putting oysters inside of it, and all of you getting on top of the watermelon. I spent my summers growing up in my religious grandparents' farm in Arkansas. Spent a lot of time picking and hauling watermelons while I stayed there. It was really boring down there on the farm. God damn it. Why didn't I know about oyster plugging back then? This comes from Mitch. I heard you mention you add wine to your gumbo. How much? No, I've never said that. I don't know who heard that. I've never said it. Never said it. You don't put wine in gumbo. You don't need to put any wine in there. This is from Abe. Jay, you said you never eat swordfish because they're bottom feeders. It's the opposite. They swim through schools of fish, most often at the surface, using their sword to kill or stun the fish. I thought you were a sportsman. And yes, the worm thing is true, right? But you just eat around the parasites and you'll be fine. Abe in Miami. You know what I like? Abe Goldberg, fisherman from Miami.
Wow,
okay, Garrett?
Stretch.
Abe Goldberg, retired, garment center guy.
Boca Raton.
My chef friends, now maybe, I don't know why they said this, but they said that the swordfish eat seal shit and stuff. I don't know. I don't. They don't seem to be bottom feeders either. But my chef friends will not do it. Jay, I know how much you hate Robin Williams. I don't hate him. Says Cody. I don't hate him. He wasn't. He wasn't a magnanimous guy. You're the star of a TV show, and your whole life is being blown out of your mind on blow all the time, and having a mistress and having the wife and all. It just was low rent. It was just weird. And then later on, when he could have helped people, not me specifically, but he just never really helped anybody, And then he marries his nanny, which was really creepy. And so he just recently mentioned that he returned to television, to, I don't know if I guess it's a sitcom, because he needed the money. Well, yeah, he's had like 3 divorces. He's got a bunch of kids. And he's going to sell his big giant ranch in Napa and everything else. Yeah, it happens. He said he could have gone on the road and done stand-up, but that's tiring, and he could have made a bunch of money. So he decided to go back and do TV. He said most of the movies he's offered don't pay very much, and he doesn't even know if they're going to be released. So it happens even to, Academy Award winners. So, yeah, that's when you see a big actor decide to do a television show, it's usually because they can stay home. They're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a week. Robin will make, I don't know, $5 or $6 million for who knows what, for 20 shows or something like that. Hell yeah. More than that. They might have paid him $10 million. Who knows? The last year that Jerry Seinfeld was on, he was offered personally $5 million an episode to do just 20 more episodes. $5 million an episode. And he turned it down.
$100 million?
Brought him up to that guy Welsh that was the head of GE when they owned NBC. They were making $1 million an episode at the time, plus he has the back end. He owned it. He said, for $5 million an episode, just give me one more year. And Jerry said, no, they're out of ideas. Yeah, I mean,
they were. I mean, they brought a midget in for half the last season or so.
That's right.
It was getting thin. Larry David was gone.
I think Larry David left after 4 or 5 years, didn't he? He left. He
left. He tried to leave and then he came back.
Diane English, I didn't even know this. Murphy Brown was on like 11 years. She left after the 4th year. I forgot that. They kept bringing me back, but she was gone after the 4th year. Let's go to Frank of Pennsylvania. Yes, Frank, it's Jay Thomas. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jay, I just wanted to tell you what Howard continued to say. He was bragging on you. He said you were a man could do many things, but he just wanted to do radio where you could do it all. They didn't say it all.
Well, they didn't say it all. Forget play it all. Anything they can do to hurt me, they will.
Oh. Well,
now, of course, I've insulted Howard, called myself the dictator of all media, and now I'm in tremendous trouble. I'm in tremendous trouble.
He'll understand.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I like that, though, the dictator of all media. I like that. And you know what I'd be? I'd be like Mussolini. I love when they show Mussolini going with his mouth kind of pursed, doing that Italian screaming and yelling. Looked like all my uncles. Let's go to Ken, who is in Georgia. Yes, Ken, go ahead.
Well, first of all, let me say that if Howard is the king of all media, you are the Ayatollah of all media.
I like that. I like the Ayatollah of all media. I like that better.
Brilliant.
I'm writing that down. The Ayatollah of all media.
There you go. Did you hear the report out of Italy today about holy water?
No, I did not. What happened?
86% of all holy water that was tested was found to have fecal matter in it. Holy
no kidding.
Crap. No, really, seriously.
Well, what's funny? I mean, I've been a Catholic all my life, and I just went to church. I don't know, I was in New Orleans, and I go in, and I'm visiting the St. Louis Cathedral, which is there. And, it's just it's a reaction. Christina, you know this. You put your hand in the holy water, and you make the sign of the cross. And every scumbag that went in there had done the same thing. Of course it's filled with goop and crap. And here's the weird thing. They say the ice in restaurants is filled with fecal matter. And now you say the holy water. What does that mean? People are wiping their asses with their hands?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, it's just
fecal?
like, people that go to the bathroom and, urinate, and then they go, well, you got to wash your hands. Well, why? Because my mother told me to. Well, my mother told me to keep my dick clean. I mean,
I'd like to be in a public restroom with you right now.
I'm with this.
No, you wash your hands because it's germs and stuff.
Well, yeah, of course.
Hot, soapy water.
But I've got one of these days, I've got a great joke to tell you about restaurant people and washing their hands. It's really hilarious.
Yeah, now.
Well, today could be the day. So go ahead and tell me this great joke you've got.
All right, so this couple's in a restaurant and they're sitting there and they're noticing that all the waiters have a fork, knife, and a spoon in their top pocket. So, because the wife says, listen, I don't mean to intrude or be personal, but why do all you waiters and waitresses have spoons and knives and forks in your top pocket? He says, well, we had an efficiency expert come in, and they said, we could save time by having this. That way, if somebody dropped, a fork or knife or whatever, we just give them one, and then we can take it back to the kitchen later rather than having to run back. I said, oh, okay. So then he started noticing that all the waiters had a string hanging out of their zipper. He's like, hey, I don't mean to get personal or anything, but I noticed all you waiters have got strings hanging out of your... He said, well, again, that's the efficiency expert. They found that, we could save time, that when we went to the bathroom, we'd just pull it out with the string and go, and we wouldn't have to wash our hands. We could save time and come back. So, okay. So he said, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Because I said, listen, I know I'm asking you a lot of questions, but, I understand pulling the string, get your penis out, you don't have to wash your hands, but how do you get it back in without touching it? He says, well, that's what the spoon's for.
Wow. That sounds like what it's like over on the Howard side now, Garrett. That efficiency expert.
Oh, boy. Now you're really fired. Forget it.
You know what?
Take
I'm in a caboose that just left the main train, and the tracks are heading off right into a canyon. All right. Thank you very much. I'm sure guys listening will tell that this weekend. Thank you very much, Ken of Georgia. Let's go to Neil, who's in San Diego. Yes, Neil, go ahead.
Dictator of all media. Is that going to be the name of your new book?
Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Beheading. Get rid of him. Let's go to Tom, Pennsylvania. Yes, Tom, go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to know, after you talked about Robin Williams, I wanted to know what your take is on Richard Dreyfuss. I never heard you speak about him.
Oh, he was a great guy. I mean, Richard had his problems also, not around me. No, Richard, in fact, we worked together for years and years, and he was always really complimentary of my work and Mr. Holland's Opus. And then afterward, I wrote and was producing an independent movie, and he read the movie for us. This is when, his name was really something. And then I'll tell you what's strange. He would do shows and stuff, and he would always mention me or something. And so he was doing a show at PBS, and it was called Cop Shop. And it was going to be a series on PBS, and he was playing this kind of drunken, drug-addled detective, and it had a bunch of big Broadway kind of names in it and all. So he gets hurt or something. I don't know what, tears his muscle in his leg or whatever. And he says to the producers, he says, look, I don't think I can do this next episode. I'm really hurt. I can't do it. So they said, well, wow, what are we going to do? And he said, well, look, why don't you just get another actor? I'll be able to come in, and you'll know I'm still a part of the precinct. But we'll get another actor, and he'll just do that episode that I was going to do, and we'll just make it like a character actor episode. And they said, oh, great. Who do you suggest? He said, Jay Thomas.
Wow.
And a buddy of mine was in the meeting, and he said, all of these people from PBS looked at each other and went, Jay Thomas? He went, yeah, I work with him. I've done plays with him. He's terrific. And they go, you mean the radio sometime sitcom guy, Jay Thomas? And he said, yeah, so they mentioned some other people. And he said, no, I'm telling you, as I really want Jay Thomas to replace me. I, of course, immediately think, no way I'm going to overwhelm him. I happen to have the flu, and I had just said to my wife, I think I'm going to die. I've got 103 fever, and I've cordoned off myself in the garage, in a bed in the garage, and the phone rings. And it's my buddy who's helping produce the show and write it and everything else. And he says, hey, man, what's going on? I go, my God, I got 103 fever. Pretty sure I'm going to die. I'm so sick. I'm sleeping in the garage. I'm so sick. He goes, really? Because Richard wants you to come to New York and replace him on this PBS show for an episode. I got out of my deathbed. And I used 100,000 miles to fly first class one way to New York. And I did that episode on this PBS thing. So, yeah, he was always great to me. Great. Here's what's sad, it's like you need guys to do that. It's like that's what I always thought was weird about Robin. Robin never helped anybody on the show. He wasn't a minch. You know what I mean? He might have helped the whales. He might have helped, he always had some freako guy with him and all. He was really like a San Francisco street performer who went from 0 to 1 million, overnight. And, Kevin, thinks he's great and all that stuff. I just kind of go, you really ought to help people. It's a hard business.
He's like a mind that speaks.
Yeah. I'm sure he's not a bad person. But then the alcoholism and the coke and all of that, to me, I know a few very weak people, and I can't be around them very long. I can be around them long enough for me to enjoy my cocktail or my drug or whatever, but once they get out of control, I have no interest in them. After I've used what I need from them, I have no interest in them. And so that's what it was like around Robin. After I'd done his blow and gotten laid from some, fall off from him, you didn't want to hang with him, You didn't want to hang with him during the weekend,
Wow, what a character reference.
But you know what? He's one of the biggest stars in the world. So, who am I? I'm no one to say that. But, there are other people that, they were, like Mary Steenburgen and Ted Danson. They would always invite you to something or whatever. And Richard Dreyfuss and other people I've worked with, Candace Bergen and all. They would include you. It's like a dinner party or what, it's like they would have you come over or whatever. Not that schmuck. He invited me to go out with him so I could cover the fact that he was with some chick and his wife wouldn't know it. And I held his fucking coat at a club. I mean, it was like I was a fucking bodyguard.
Oh, real cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't like that. You know what? And also, I think he got picked on as a kid. And he looked upon guys like me. We were the guys that picked on him, which I was picked on as a kid, too. I wasn't anybody picking on people. So, he was wrong about me. That's all. And so, the last time I saw Robin Williams, I was walking my girlfriend to an abortion clinic on 3rd Avenue. That's the last time I ever saw him.
Wow.
And, so that's it. All right. But, that's a long time ago. He probably didn't know my fucking name. All right, I'll see you later.
Have a great night, Jay.
All right, bye-bye. Charlie of Boston, you're the last caller of the day. What is it? Charlie of Boston.
Hey, Jay, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead. Hurry up.
Hey, all right. Just checking. About that fecal thing. They did a test on Mythbusters where they put an item like, 2 feet from the toilet, then they moved it 4 feet, then they moved it 5 feet, and they found fecal matter regardless of how far away they put this toothbrush. Well, they actually took a toothbrush out of a brand new package and tested it, and that also tested positive for fecal matter.
Well, thank you, Charlie, very much. So basically, Charlie, there is just shit
everywhere.
No matter where we look, no matter what cup, no matter what you put in your mouth tonight, there will be fecal matter in it. Have a nice evening. It's the Jay Thomas Show.